To sunny Southern California, and for the first time in 14 years, Petco Park will be home to the postseason. It's the 5-seed Cardinals and the 4-seed Padres. Game 1 of their NL Wild Card Series is next.
The Fall Frenzy, 16 teams across 4 rounds.
This particular format leaves everybody more vulnerable.
When you have that idea that you have to win every day, that gets you ready for a playoff situation.
Simply unbelievable!
Did they do it again? Yes, sir!
Talk about excitement. 16 teams playing for their life right off the bat.
You will have a postseason to remember!
Welcome to the 2020 Wild Card Series presented by Hankook Tire. A full day of baseball today. Take you deep into the night. Here's the bracket. Check out the top right corner. That's where this game resides. The winner of this 3-game series will move on to Arlington, Texas, and take on the winner of the 8-seed Brewers and the number 1 seed Dodgers. And so here we go. Tom Hart alongside Rick Sutcliffe. Sutton, what has been an unprecedented season in every way? In the end, they're still playing for the same trophy.
And I still can't believe that we made it. I'll be honest. 2020 has been a different year. We've had a different schedule. We played by different rules. But I'll tell you what, the one thing we know right now, they still have the same goal, and that's to win the World Series.
Well, the Cardinals have done that more often than the Padres, more often than anybody else in the National League. And when you compare where these two franchises have been based on where they're going, there is no comparison. 30 playoff appearances for St. Louis. Padres only 6, and every time they've met head-to-head in the postseason, the Cardinals have won. In fact, in 2006, it led them to a World Series championship. So how did the Padres get here as they look to win the whole cake? Well, they made Major League history. 5 Grand Slams in 6 days. First team to ever do that. A team that was good to begin and got better. They traded away 16 players, got 10 back at the deadline, got a closer, a couple catchers, got some veteran presence. Third in baseball with their winning percentage since deadline. It's the best winning percentage in Padres history, and they have the most electrifying player in the game.
I think when you look at the combination of him on offense and defense, I think without a doubt he's been the most exciting player in 2020. That combination of power, his 17 home runs, of speed, his 11 stolen bases, not only led the Padres in both of those categories, but I think he's the number 1 reason that they got led back to playing in the postseason.
The only question for the San Diego team revolves around their starting pitching. And when the playoff rosters were announced today, it was missing 2 very important names for San Diego. For more on that, let's head there. Here's Pedro Gomez.
Yeah, none bigger than the biggest deadline acquisition they made in Mike Clevenger from the Indians, who had extensive postseason experience. He was brought here to be the Game 1 starter for the playoffs. He told me that he has tried like crazy to get back out there, but he's still battling a posterior elbow issue. That is never a good thing for any pitcher to talk about. The other major pitcher, Dinelson Lamet, who was probably their best pitcher from the start of the season till the end, he also is not going to be available for this series. Huge blows for the Padres. Guys?
Yeah, Pedro, that turns into a huge advantage for the Cardinals. What a season it's been for St. Louis. For 17 straight days, they didn't play. They're stuck in their hotel in Milwaukee for a good chunk of that. And then, as a result, they had to cram 53 games into 44 days of action. They played more doubleheaders than anybody. How they've done it, well, they don't score a lot, not much pop to this lineup, but pitching and defense, Sut, has brought them back to the postseason.
I totally agree with you. And I tell you, I think their MVP is their manager, Mike Schilt. In his first full year last year, he got him back to the postseason. And how he's kept everything together this year has been nothing short of remarkable.
That shot tells it all. The centerpiece, Yadier Molina, in the middle of their dugout and ready to go. It's the Cards and Padres wild card game number 1. The Wild Card Series is presented by Hankook Tire. Never halfway. Temperature in the upper 80s as we get set for first pitch at Petco Park. It'll come from a surprise starter for the Padres, right-hander Chris Paddock.
And at 24 years of age, he's the youngest to start a postseason game for the Padres since Jake Peavy. I also find it kind of interesting that the last Padre to start a postseason game in San Diego was David Wells. He's 57 years old.
Here's a look at the batting order for the Cardinals. We mentioned the fact that they lack pop, but they know how to get on base. Now, here's a stat at the bottom that goes against everything we know of baseball in 2020. Less than 35% of their runs come via the home run. That's third lowest in baseball, yet here they are back in the postseason again. And as far as Mike Shilt's lineup is concerned today, Matt Carpenter DHing and batting 7th. Otherwise, just about normal. Colton Wong will lead things off. The second baseman riding a 7-game hit streak. He's hitting .265 on the year. And a fastball sitting at 97 for Paddock. It's a pop-up on the left side. And Machado and Tatis fight over it. One down. So this Cardinals offense comes in 12th in the National League in runs per game, just a tick over 4. Last in home run rate, 5th in walk rate. Sometimes, when you watch this team, it seems like they're too patient.
I totally agree with you. I think they've all just kind of waited to see what was going to happen this year. And, when you think about going 17 days without being on the field, they've just had a lot to overcome. You got to give them a pass on anything that might have gone wrong.
Tommy Edman batting in the 2-hole, fouls a fastball up. We mentioned Paddock a moment ago. He's basically a fastball changeup guy. What can his velocity early in this game tell us about what to expect?
That's a great question, because I had the same question posed to pitching coach Larry Rothschild in his first year with the Padres, and he told me that 95 was going to be the key.
Cronenworth deep in the hole, has no play, and Edman reaches on an infield single.
And really what he's talking about with that is that he needs that 95, because his changeup is right around 85 miles an hour, and you need a separation there to have some swing and misses. I love how he started out with a strike at 95, then he elevated at 97 to get the first out.
So with one on and one out, Paul Goldschmidt comes to the plate. This is the real threat in the Cardinals batting order. It's amazing he's put up the numbers he has this season, considering the fact that opponents haven't had to pitch to him. They pitch to him here, and he drives it deep to left field, and it is gone. Goldschmidt, one swing, puts the Cardinals on top.
Partner, you absolutely nailed it when you talked about the one presence in that lineup that as a starting pitcher you have to avoid. You don't challenge that guy. They don't have anybody to protect him that's close to having the resume that he has. And what does Paddock do? Comes right down the middle like, I'm better than you. And Paul Goldschmidt said, no, you're not.
15th home run allowed on the season for Paddock. 107 off the bat.
That Paul Goldschmidt was one of the league leaders in free passes. You're going to pitch around him. He's the one guy you do not want to let beat you. And you just wonder how big that 2-run shot's going to be here in the first inning.
Here's Dylan Carlson batting in the cleanup spot, a spot where the Cardinals have had a hard time finding any traction. They love the at-bats he gave him late in the season. Just a 200 average and 3 home runs. But the 4-hole for St. Louis has been a big black hole. 29th in baseball with a 198 cumulative average. And he slices this one to left. Cardinals are putting the hits together here early. Their 3rd hit of the first inning. Profar finally finds it. Carlson standing up at second.
Well, we asked manager Mike Shildt about having the 21-year-old rookie hitting behind Paul Goldschmidt, and he said, you know what, I like what he's done as of late. And when you look at the numbers, he had 7 RBIs in the last 7 games of the season. So much confidence in him that Mike Schilt, in that must-win game that they had on Sunday against Milwaukee, it was Carlson hitting 4th in that game as well.
Mike Schilt has a manager on the field. You've heard it said before about some players. I don't know if it's ever been more true than it is about Yadier Molina. 98 playoff games for Molina, and he jumps on the first pitch, and they may not know what's coming. Carlson's around third. He'll score, and the Cardinals have opened up a 3-0 lead on Chris Paddock.
Is Pedro Gomez down there by the Padres bullpen? Because if he is, I got a feeling he's going to hear that phone ringing, if not before Larry Rothschild went to the mound, but definitely by the time he gets back to it. Yadier Molina jumping on this fastball right down the middle, taking it back right up the middle. He's been that guy. You know, when he first got to the big leagues, he was a lot like Ozzie Smith, and then his glove and his arm got him there. He didn't do much offensively. But for me, the soon-to-be Hall of Famer, 5 years after he retires, just like Ozzie Smith, has all of a sudden become productive offensively.
4 straight one-out hits for the Cardinals. They're jumping on Paddock, a guy who delivers a first pitch strike at least last year more often than anybody, and it's still a very high rate with just 2 pitches, fastball and a changeup primarily. In fact, 89% of his pitches are one of the 2. The Cardinals either see something or they're guessing right as Paul DeJong looks at a fastball low. Paddock was an 8th-round pick of the Marlins in 2015 out of high school in Texas, traded in 2016 for Fernando Rodney in his 2nd season as a starter with the Padres. And he had a wildly inconsistent season. This one rocked into the corner. Cardinals pouring it on as it short hops the wall. Molina, the veteran, will pull up at third. And Paul DeJong rips one into the corner.
Yeah, I got a feeling that when Chris Paddock looked to home before that last pitch right there, that he got the sign from the dugout to throw to first base. Yadier Molina is not going to steal a bag. Why is he throwing over there? I got a feeling that sign came from the Padre bench to give the bullpen a little bit more time to get ready.
They're just now getting some guys milling around in the Padres bullpen. This is the start that Jace Tingler, the Padres manager, did not want to have. They will already have, if they can get to Friday, a bullpen day in that game. Matt Carpenter swings at the first. Profar with a sliding catch. Molina looking to tag, and he'll rumble home with another run for St. Louis.
Well, you had mentioned, Sut, if I was near the Padres bullpen. I'm actually behind the Padre dugout, but after Yadier Molina's RBI single, immediately Padre relievers who sit under the bleachers in the shade got up, and a host of them started moving into the bullpen. And right now there is a lefty up. I cannot make out who it is from my distance, but there is a lefty side armor who is up right now for the Padres.
It's Tim Hill getting loose early. Pedro mentioned the fact that Lamet and Clevenger not on the postseason roster doesn't mean that either one of them couldn't be added in the next round, but they will not throw in this 3-game series, and the Padres do not have a starter for game 3. So Paddock, his production of utmost importance if San Diego wants to win this series. Runner on 2nd and 2 down for the 8th hitter of this first inning. It's Dexter Fowler for St. Louis.
When you look at the season for young Chris Paddock, it's really been inconsistent, and that inconsistency, we've been told, has come from the velocity and command of that fastball. We're seeing that again today.
The changeup is grounded to the right side. Cronenworth has it, and Fowler retired, but not before St. Louis sends 8 to the plate in the first inning. They pitched to Paul Goldschmidt, got a first pitch fastball, and he put this over the wall and left. His 7th home run of the season, and St. Louis strikes first. Cardinals, they've now scored 14 runs in the first inning of their last 2 games prior to the NLCS. Remember their huge first inning in Atlanta last year. Goldschmidt getting used to the sun. Here's how San Diego will line him up. Now this Padres offense can score some runs, no doubt about that. 4th in the National League in home runs and nearly 5.5 runs per game, best in franchise history. What a 1-2 punch. Tatis and Machado right off the bat. Cardinals will roll out a pitcher with postseason experience. Granted, that came in the KBO. It's Kwang Young Kim. 7 starts this season, a 1.62 ERA.
And as good as that sounds, I tell you what, you take away his first relief appearance and 1 start against Pittsburgh, and he has combined for almost 33 innings, allowing only 2 earned runs.
Facing the Padres for the first time, but he pitched in this ballpark in a World Baseball Classic in 2009. Tatis petered off towards the end of the season, just a 163 average since September 8th. But the final series of the season for San Diego came in San Francisco. He had 2 home runs in that one. What impresses you the most about Fernando Tatis Jr.?
I think his ability to readjust, because all of a sudden when September rolled around, they started pounding him in. They knocked him off the plate. They moved him. A lot of that's pretty much all that he saw was in there. And when you look at the numbers in September, he struggled. But partner, you're exactly right. Those 2 home runs the last week in the season said that he had filled up that hole in there. He's able to either lay off that pitch, or if it is a strike, foul it off until he gets something out over the plate that he can drive.
2-1 from Kim is low and inside. Pardon me, that was ball 4. And so Fernando Tatis Jr. reaches on a leadoff walk. And that'll bring Manny Machado up. Kwang Young Kim, 32 years old, from Seoul, South Korea. 12 seasons he pitched in the professional organization in Korea. Made 276 starts, which meant it was a surprise to a lot of folks when he debuted as the Cardinals closer on opening day. Mike Schultz said he came to the team, said, I just want to pitch wherever you can fit me is fine. Pitched for the SK Wyverns for those 12 seasons, and he's reached out to some buddies and former teammates to get scouting reports and get ready for the postseason, including Merrill Kelly, who pitches for the Diamondbacks, who was his teammate with SK. And Hyunjin Ryu now with the Dodgers. 0-1 to Machado. Where Tatis slowed down, Machado put the hammer down late in the season. And he looks at a strike, 0-2. How do these 2 guys, Tatis and Machado, play off of each other?
You know, it's interesting because we talked to manager Jace Tingler about that, and we asked him if it reminded him of when he was in Texas with Adrian Beltre and Elvis Andrus, and he goes, exactly. The way they communicate, the way they work together. It was kind of interesting on that pop-up from Colton Wong, how they collided and went together. It was like Machado say, I'm the big brother here. You know, I'll let you know if I need help or if I don't. But I did really think that Tatis has been more important to Manny.
To the right side, that one skips past Wong, and Tatis will make his way to third. No overstating the importance of those 2 to this lineup.
And the reason that I say that Tatis is more important to Machado is that Manny Machado knows that the eyes of Fernando Tatis are on him at everything he does. And we've known Manny Machado in the past. He's done some things. He's taken some plays off. He's had some bad at bat. He can't do that now, knowing how much he means to that youngster. And I thought it was kind of revealing when all of a sudden Tatis had all that attention. Manny Machado said, hold on a minute. And then he wins back-to-back National League Players of the Week saying, hey, I'm still the man here in town.
Here's Eric Hosmer on and off the IL this season, including 9 games missed with a broken finger when he tried to bunt. That cost him those 9 games in mid-September. He's one of the few Padres with postseason experience. Relative to Yadier Molina behind the plate, who's playing in his 99th postseason game, 7th most overall. So Yadi's played in 99. The entire Padres lineup today has played in 73 playoff games.
What, Hosmer has most of those, I would guess.
Yeah, he's got 31 under his belt. Of course, those great runs with the Royals, and he's over the top of Kim's breaking ball, 2-1.
Think about that 14 World Series where Bruce Bochy and Madison Bumgarner came back to win Game 7 on the road.
High fly ball. Big ballpark. It's Harrison Bader in center, and tagging is Tatis. Padres are on the board.
But you know what, partner, I'll tell you what, that's what, as a pitcher, we call inning management. All right, you just, with nobody out, you just kind of give up on that man at third. I'm going to give you that one, particularly when you gave me that early lead. Now is where you got to control that thing. Okay, you got that first out. You came in there. I mean, it's like, all right, let's finish this thing up. Let's throw a ground ball. Let's get a double play. Let's get out of this thing and let our offense go back to work.
Machado at first base. Chatting with Wayne Kirby. Here's Will Myers now. He's put up some impressive numbers. They get lost in the shuffle when you talk about Tatis and Machado. Kim drops one in for a strike.
And Tom, I think that's really important what you just said there, that he got lost in the shuffle. And I think because of that, not being the man that they leaned on, he didn't feel like he had to carry this team like he did when he first signed. He signed that big contract. He came over from Tampa Bay. He had some big numbers, and things just didn't work out. That OPS right now has never been better for Will Myers.
29 years old, the longest tenured Padre on this roster. Now his 6th season in San Diego as Kim catches the outer edge for a strike. 1-2. Gabe Morales a home plate umpire in this one.
As we know, there's a lot of guys for the Padres excited to get back to the postseason, and Myers is one of those guys. 2 for 20 back in 2013 with Tampa Bay when they made it to October.
Kim will keep a close eye on Machado. 6 stolen bases on the season. Padres top 5 in home runs, and they lead baseball with 55 stolen bases. What a combination of power and speed throughout the batting order. As the breaking ball's fouled off, 1-2 still.
It's just like when I look at that lineup, I don't know that I've ever seen a more athletic San Diego Padre team. You got Grisham down there at the bottom. He plays center field. You got Profort, who has that combination of power and speed. And then Austin Nola. I mean, he's kind of like JT Realmuto in all of the different things he can do offensively.
Swing and a miss, and Myers goes down.
That's just overmatching a guy right there. You can see by the grip there, it's going to be a cutter, going to be coming in at that back foot of the right-handed hitter. So many different ways, the 4 pitches that Kim is able to go after a hitter. He's got a fork ball. He can throw a get-over curveball. But his pitching coach, Mike Maddox, and I think we have 2 of the best pitching coaches in all of baseball here today. Mike Maddox talked about Ethan West. He talked about the command of his fastball and cutter to both sides of the plate.
This is Tommy Pham, the former Cardinal. One of the best players on the St. Louis team in 2017. Now he's home in San Diego. Just came back from broken hamate bone. And the pitch misses low in it. Oh, expound on that a little bit when you go directionally talking about what Kim needs to do.
I'm just talking about his command and basically kind of creating an X to both sides of the plate. He's going to come in with that cutter to his arm side and his glove side. Then he's going to use the fastball to both sides of the plate. He's going to go down with the split finger fastball. But for the most part, he's going to stay around that K zone. He has the ability to get you out in the strike zone rather than being a guy that starts in the strike zone with movement out of it.
He is quite likely the most popular athlete in all of South Korea. Even though Hyunjin Ryu might have a better resume, it's his personality that puts him above the rest. And this game is big in South Korea. It'll be overnight tonight. Machado back to the bag. You can see that big smile from Kwang Young Kim. He was very close to being a Padre.
Yeah.
Came over years ago, first posted in 2014. Padres had exclusive negotiating rights with him. He made the trip to San Diego. They had the jersey printed and ready to go with his name on it. And then he didn't feel like he was getting a fair shake from San Diego. He was dejected. He was disappointed. Flew back to South Korea and was more motivated than ever. It fueled him. Eventually signing with the Cardinals and coming over this season, one of 3 former KBO MVPs in MLB this year. Into center field, it's Bader again, and he will back his way into out number 3. Padres get a run across and a walk and a hit. Through with 1, 4-1 in game 1. Get to the game. Let's dig into tonight's key game insights for the fans at home.
Just take a look at that, the lack of power. I think part of that has to do, obviously, with what they went through. Having, more than 2 weeks being away from the field. When you come back, you can't really pick it up. But you just look at that offense. They're capable of scoring. It's kind of been just feast and famine. And then when you look at what's going on with the Padres and what they've done all year, particularly with runners on base, I think you have a lot of confidence in that Padres dugout that this game is not out of reach.
Harrison Bader will lead off. He's the only Cardinal that didn't come to the plate in the first inning. A 4-run, 5-hit inning. 3 extra base hits in the first inning for the first time this year. Tied for the most hits. And a 4-run inning for the 4th time. Bader provided the big hits in the season finale, which got St. Louis into the postseason in a must-win game. Must-win in many ways. Either to get into the postseason and also to keep them from having to fly to Detroit to play 2 more games on Monday. Bader had a triple and a monster home run.
That was a huge win for this ball club. They could have been the 5th seed, 6th seed, 7th seed, or 8th seed. They also could have been eliminated. And you're right. They might have had to have played 1 game on Monday in Detroit. They might have had to play another game there. Winning that ball game, they were able to take a couple of days off. And I would imagine, like a lot of them told us, all they did was sleep to try to catch up after all those double hitters.
They flew out to San Diego Sunday night, and they had a brief workout at Petco on Monday. And part of that was just to get the guys out of the hotel room. They're relatively sequestered. The only thing they can do, maybe put the mask on and go for a walk. Bader with a swing and a miss on the changeup from Paddock. First K for Paddock in this one. All fastballs and changeups so far.
Yeah, I love what Jace Chingler has done. I love the fact that he sends the kid back out there again. And I'm sure the conversation with Chris Paddock and Larry Rothschild, the pitching coach, was, hey, you got to mix it up. They've proven they can turn your fastball around. Fastball on the first pitch followed by 3 straight split finger fastballs to pick up the first out.
Colton Wong looks at a first pitch strike. We mentioned Paddock's pitch repertoire, and it's relatively limited in its scope, especially when you compare it to Kwang Young Kim. So is that I mean, he's made it to this point on basically only a fastball and a changeup. Is that a huge advantage for Cardinals hitters?
I think it is, and I think that it was proven to Chris Paddock during the regular season. We know he was outstanding a year ago when he won 9 games, only 26 starts, had an ERA just barely over 3. They had the inning management on him then. I think the opponents have figured him out. Now he's got to readjust. There's the elevated fastball. Now I would imagine he's going to come back with that split-fingered fastball, try to get a chase for either a ground ball or a swing and a miss.
Opponent's hitting .308 against his fastball this year, only .187 against the changeup. Changeup grounded to the right side. Jake Cronenworth, the fantastic rookie, handles it 2 down.
Get your ice cold Bud Light. Bud Light. Out the head. Get your ice cold. Oh, Bud Light. Bud Light. Out the head. Who needs to?
I thought maybe that was your Zoom call, Sut.
Oh, I was just sure he was talking to me at that point.
Here's Tommy Edman. He finished the season strong, hitting 9 of his last 10 in a first pitch strike to the Cardinals' third baseman. Five home runs and 26 driven in for Edman.
Oh. Okay. Yep.
25-year-old played his college ball at Stanford. He's from just up the road in La Jolla. High school at La Jolla Country Day. Second season with the Cardinals.
Tommy, like a lot of guys last year in the postseason, hit well in the division series against Atlanta, and then ran into that starting rotation of the Nationals in the LCS where he went 0 for 14.
They ran into a buzzsaw of Nationals pitching. No doubt about that.
Cardinals scored 6 runs in getting swept in those 4 games against Davey Martinez and the eventual World Series champion.
Two-two to Edman. Got him to pop it up on a fastball in on the hands, and Fernando Tatis handles it. 1-2-3 inning. Great bounce back inning for Chris Paddock. It'll be Cronenworth to lead off when we return. Welcome back to the 2020 Wild Card Series presented by Hankook Tire. Game 1 of this 3-game series between the Cardinals and the Padres. Here's what the postseason bracket looks like. Brewers and Dodgers later tonight. That's the 8th seed Brewers got in with a sub-500 record against the best team in the National League. What a thrilling win for the Braves over the Reds earlier today. Freddie Freeman with the walk-off winner after Trevor Bauer struck out 12, only allowed 2 hits over 7 2/3. Braves come out on top. What a day of baseball, huh?
You know, in a big time congratulations, and I know you guys feel the same way, for Dusty Baker. The 5th team that he's managed to the postseason, and for Houston to go in and basically upset the Minnesota Twins. Could not be more happy for a former teammate and really my favorite all-time teammate.
On the other side, that's 18 straight losses. Twins. Bader to the wall, off of his glove, comes back into play. Harrison Bader's got to hurry, and Cronenworth, the rookie, will head into third with a leadoff triple.
I don't want to take anything away from Jake because he has been outstanding pretty much all year long. particularly the first 2 months of the season. He had his hands on that Rookie of the Year trophy until September rolled around. But this is a play here. Harrison Bader is in the everyday lineup because of his defense. This is a play. He turned 3 or 4 different ways. If he would have taken a direct route, that would have been an easy play and a routine first out. Instead, a lot more momentum headed back to that offense of the San Diego Padres.
Son, I'm not sure Bader ever had a good beat on it. We've seen some guys looking up, checking out the sun today on his early afternoon start. It's 89 degrees at first pitch.
Pedro, he's looking for a flag right now. Is there any kind of a wind gusting down there that might have been carrying the ball in that direction?
There are 4 pennants in dead center field just to the left of the batting eye, and they're coming in, not heavily, but they are pointing inward toward second base. So that might be exactly what they're looking at.
Quick replay review, make sure it didn't go over the fence.
Exactly, yeah.
So a leadoff triple for Cronenworth, and that brings Austin Nola to the plate. What a season it's been for Nola. What a career it's been for the former LSU shortstop. Fought his way through the minors as a middle infielder, finally made the move to catcher, and was behind the plate every day for the Mariners before the trade to San Diego. This will be his 20th game in a Padre uniform.
Yeah, I don't pay any attention to that batting average as a Padre because there was a good explanation for that. You know, he was a guy in Seattle who knew that staff, and he was able to get extra hitting and work on his swing and do some things offensively. You know, he comes over here basically with, 3 weeks to go. He had a new pitching staff to learn, and a lot of credit goes to him for figuring that out and gaining their trust.
And he sends his fly ball to right field, fighting the sun. Fowler with the glove and the shades, 2 down, or pardon me, 1 down. Let's take it to the studio now.
All right, and Tom, time for today's Wild Card Roundup, brought to you by Coors Light. The longest scoreless duel in Major League playoff history ended in the 13th, thanks to NL MVP candidate Freddie Freeman. Game-ending RBI single off Amir Garrett. 1-0. The Braves take a 1-0 series lead.
All right, Kevin, thanks. So on Nola's sac fly, the Padres get their second run across. Here's Jurickson Profar. And we saw Profar talking with some of his teammates. Here's the interesting thing with Kwang Young Kim on the mound for St. Louis. He's never faced the Cardinals before. Now, San Diego should have plenty of information on Kim. They're one of the few major league organizations that has had a full-time scout in South Korea for more than 5 years. They've watched film. All these years, they should have a scouting report. But, Pedro, nothing beats seeing him in person.
No, and actually I asked Jace Tingler about that very fact. One of the things he said is, we're going to go old school baseball. When a guy's coming back in the dugout, he's going to tell the other guys, hey, his four-seamer does this, his changeup does that. It's pre-video days. Think about that. Probably from one of the days when Sut used to be pitching.
That a great view of Profar walking out to left field after the bottom of the first, chatting with Tatis and Machado, and that scouting report may have helped into left, but the park will hold it. A deep fly ball handled by Carlson, 2 down.
You know, it may go unnoticed, guys, but that productive out by Austin Nola could be a game changer as we get later on into this afternoon. He made an out, yeah, but I mean, he got the run over. It's kind of interesting that he does that, and it's more difficult to do what he did than what Profar just did there. Yet Profar gets credit for an RBI. He doesn't get an at-bat against him, and all that Nola has is an 0 for 1 to start the day.
Trent Grisham to the plate in the 9 hole. Kim comes inside with the fastball. Interesting stats on Kim when he throws that fastball. Sut, he'll come inside with it 44% of the time.
And I love, as Mike Maddox told us before the game about the East and West, it really doesn't matter. He's got the ability to pitch in to both left and right-handed hitters. He's done nothing wrong this inning. It should have been a 1-2-3 inning.
Kim couldn't believe he missed it. When we call KBO games, start doing that this summer on ESPN, we have what we call the grimace cam. Pitchers are not afraid to react to pitches that they don't agree with. It's fine over there, off of his glove.
That doesn't work here. Believe me, I found out the hard way.
Cronenworth's leadoff triple brings home a run for San Diego. Cardinals with the lead 4-2 over the Padres. Moments ago, we caught up with St. Louis manager Mike Shildt. Mike, you just talked with Yadier Molina. Can you tell us the value that he brings to this team every day, but especially in the postseason?
Yeah, you know, this guy's been through the wars, and he's a general. So he's knows what it's all about. Doesn't make it bigger than it is, but has the experience and wisdom to draw from. Just a great asset.
Does anything Paul Goldschmidt does these days surprise you?
No, that guy's a complete stud. Across the board, just a great player, and no, nothing surprised me. Just a really, really good player and terrific dude.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
All right, appreciate it, guys.
Goldschmidt's home run gave the Cardinals a 2-0 lead. They would score 4 in the first inning. And Dylan Carlson was a part of that. Doubled and came around to score. Carlson is the third Cardinals player age 21 or younger to bat cleanup in a postseason game. Joining Stan Musial and Albert Pujols. That is elite company in St. Louis history.
You want to say those two names one more time?
Yeah. Stan the Man and the Machine.
I think even Stan the Man would have admitted for a decade there that the man in St. Louis was the Machine, Albert Pujols.
Carlson watches that pitch miss low.
I got to tell you that I'm a huge fan of both of these managers, and you know how they've, as you say, paid their dues, how they've persevered to get to where they're at right now.
Carlson yanks this one down the line, and it's foul. They've done it in different ways, right? In different backgrounds. Mike Shildt leading the Cardinals to the postseason again. He joined Pants Rowland with the White Sox in 1917 and Ed Barrow with the Red Sox in 1918. This one will drop in front of Profar as the only managers who never played professionally to take their teams to the postseason. He's done it 2 years in a row. There's never been a day like this in Major League history, with 8 best-of-3 wildcard games. We'll cap it off with Game 1 between the Brewers and Dodgers, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. You can always watch it streaming live on the ESPN app.
Tommy, you made a comment right off the bat about can you believe we made it? And I mean, I absolutely can't. There were so many times that we had our doubt as to whether they were going to be able to put the teams on the field, whether the Cardinals were going to be able to complete a season, what was going to happen with the Miami Marlins. Really amazing, and really, really proud of the players and the Players Association and the owners setting everything aside and forgetting about the problems and issues that have gone into it and just saying, what can we do? What do we have to do? No fans. Okay, no fan. What else? What needs to be done? A bubble, whatever. And all the players agreeing to everything.
Players were anxious to play. They wanted to get out there and play. The Cardinals, though, because of COVID-19, had a stretch where they couldn't play, and that turned into playing more than anybody else. 38% of their schedule came from doubleheaders. That's the most since the White Sox in 1961. Talk with Mike Shildt. He said, our days off aren't real days off. I give a guy a day off by saying, hey, can you DH today?
I think it, too, comes from his leadership and then a couple of guys in that uniform. As he mentioned, Yadier Molina, as he mentioned, Paul Goldschmidt, and one that we'll talk about a lot tomorrow, that being Adam Wainwright.
Wainwright, toe the rubber for St. Louis in Game 2. He and Molina, the veteran presences on this St. Louis team. Remains to be seen if either one or both of them return next year in a Cardinals uniform. And the odd part, son, how about this? If Molina does it, his final at bat as a Cardinal at Busch Stadium, he hit into a triple play.
Wow.
99th career postseason game today. The two longest tenured players with their current teams. Alex Gordon, with the Royals season done, has wrapped up his wonderful career.
I was actually listening to that game on radio when Molina hit into that triple play, and it didn't dawn on me, and it still doesn't, because I just don't think he's done. I just think there's too many things that he brings to that team and that organization, and how he can impact the game for a guy that's rarely between the lines. He's either beside the line or he's behind home plate.
Ripped to left field. That is career hit number 2003 for Molina. Carlson will stop at third, and Yadier Molina's 2 for 2 in this one.
Hart. Chris.
I think that Jace Tingler might have seen enough right now. Why he wanted to come back inside with that fastball. The command has not been there from the very beginning. The velocity was there early, but it seems to be going down. He had success when he came out in that second inning and had a 1-2-3 inning by pitching, by using the split finger fastball to set up the fastball, by using the changeup. Now he's going the other way around, and once again, like in the first inning, it's not working. A lot of pressure on Austin Nola here with that off-speed pitch in the dirt to keep that run from scoring.
Got Carlson at third, Molina at second, and Paul DeJong at the plate. He's already doubled in this game. Padres have Matt Strahm getting loose in the home bullpen. Nola brings it back for a strike.
Big part of that bullpen was Strahm early in the season. He was a back of the bullpen 7, 8, 9 type inning early, but they've made a lot of additions down there along with Pomeranz and Rosenthal. They feel real good about holding the lead if they can get one.
One ball and 1 strike to DeJong.
Partner, we've talked about Austin Nola and the things that he does well. He calls a game. They're raving about that. His offense, his athleticism. But to me, that was a pitch right there that, had it been framed better, might have made this 1-1 count and 0-2 count. It'll come. He hadn't been catching that long, as you mentioned earlier.
No, it's really amazing that he's turned himself into a major league catcher. Line drive up the middle. That's going to bring home Carlson. Molina will stop at third, and Paul DeJong makes it a 5-2 St. Louis lead.
What an approach. I mean, we've talked about all year long how offense has been so hard to come by, but just the fact that they're going back up in the middle, they're using the opposite field. That would have driven in 2 runs there had it knocked Yadier Molina down. It was hit so hard and hit right at him. He had to get out of the way. The second base umpire, James Hoy, had to get out of the way. Is the only reason that it didn't keep another run from scoring.
Well, that hit didn't hit those 2 guys, but it knocked Chris Paddock out of the game. 5-2 Cardinals. Day is done for Chris Paddock, the surprise starter for the Padres after 2 of their aces weren't on the postseason roster. 46 pitches. He allowed 8 hits and 5 earned runs. And he will turn the ball over. Yep.
Yeah, we talked about the inconsistency for Paddock all year long, and this outing here was a lot like his last outing against San Francisco when he didn't get through the 4th inning, allowing 5 runs and 3 homers.
North Dakota native Matt Strom now on the hill for the Padres in the first pitch. It's waved at by Matt Carpenter. So we mentioned this earlier. The Cardinals are here thanks to pitching and defense. And now they've got 5 runs on the board, which means the pitching and defense could carry them. They're 23-1 when scoring 5 or more.
You know, it's real interesting. You're talking about their pitching and defense, particularly the defense, because a couple of years ago in 2018, they led the majors in errors. Last year, Mike Shildt, in his first year as manager of the Cardinals, cleaned that up. In fact, they committed the fewest errors last year in all of baseball. Kind of middle of the road now, but you give them a pass because of all the time they had off, because of the virus not being on the field. Collectively, now that they have been on the field, they've been back to being that elite defense.
Carpenter had a sac fly in the first inning. 0-1 is waved at. The TCU product down in the count.
I thought Mike Shildt might go to the bench here. He went to the bench in game 1 of the division series last year against Atlanta when he brought Matt Carpenter to home plate as the pinch hitter, and he tied the ball game up in the 8th inning.
Carpenter trickles one foul. He's really seen his production drop over the last couple of seasons. Struggling this year. Last year, career worst in a full season for hits, RBI, average, and OPS for the 3-time All-Star.
And I'll be honest, I think not playing every day has a big part to do with that. I think the fact that now the National League has the DH, and if they have the DH next year, I think he'll be around in that Cardinal uniform for another 2 or 3 more years because of that role.
And beats the shift with that shot to the left side to bring home Molina. 6-2 St. Louis on a Matt Carpenter ribby.
Hart. I'll tell you what, these Cardinals have just had a terrific approach, just waiting on an unlocated fastball. Chasing the breaking ball, falling behind an account. Give me a fastball, please, that I can put the barrel of the bat on. And look at that, right back up the middle once again. They're fighting off the difficult pitches, waiting on that mistake, and thus far in just 3 innings, they've seen a lot of them.
So here's Dexter Fowler. We've talked about how COVID-19 has impacted this Cardinals team. Well, Fowler has been impacted by more than that. Dealing with ulcerative colitis over the last 10 years. That and a mix of medication to try and keep him healthy. Put him on the couch for a week and a half. He couldn't do anything. And then when he came back, he decided not to go to the alternate site, which is down in Springfield, Missouri. So he was just working out in St. Louis. And after dealing with his stomach pain, depleted energy since early July, he's had a hard time finding his groove. Just 2 for 23 now in the 8 games since coming off the IL.
And we have heard that pretty much all around baseball this year, Tom.
Well, whether dealing with colitis or COVID-19, said I don't think we'll really ever have a great appreciation for how these guys who have been sick have had to fight back to play baseball every day. Or in the Cardinals situation, sometimes playing a doubleheader almost every day.
And you know one thing, there's a lot of people out there listening to us right now that know a lot more about it than we do.
Strom slipped coming off the mound and then wheeled back around, and Nola's going to go check on him. That'll also bring the athletic trainer out to look at him. Padres, as we mentioned earlier, already dealing with pitching injuries.
You know, I mean, unorthodox with that delivery. He's going to step towards the first baseline, and there's a lot of times that lead foot will spin out on him after he's released the ball. I think what scared him is that foot started to give away a little bit too soon. Now, we've talked many times that, you know, your back leg is kind of like the stick shift. I mean, you shift it to put the engine into gear. That front foot, that landing foot, is supposed to be the brake that you land on, that you come off of to create the velocity. Yeah, he's fine. I think it just scared him more than anything.
Got turned the ankle a little bit as he got on top of it. Jace Tingler, manager of the Padres, out chatting with him.
You know, I didn't have to deal with it very often, being a starting pitcher for most of my career, but I know one thing. A lot of times the starting pitchers tear up that landing spot out in front. And when you come in as a reliever and you try to find a spot for yourself and somebody else has already been there, let's say that Kim's landing foot is a little bit short of where Strom wants to get to. I mean, it can create a problem like that in a pitch.
Strom's 6'2". Dealing with DeYoung at second and Carpenter at first.
Oh.
And missed with the breaking ball. 2-2.
Those shadows are starting to creep in, as they do a lot of times when you have a start like this, 2 o'clock on the West Coast. Not a problem yet.
Just the light tower shadow at home plate. Fowler to third. Machado to second for one, on to first, and too late to get Fowler. DeYoung advances to third.
It's amazing that Manny Machado, because of his arm strength, can even make that as close as it was. Fowler still gets down the line above average. He's still able to play solid defense when he's out there. But Machado cannon that he has, along with Tatis, you just never know if they're going to turn something that most people can't.
Runners at the corners for Harris and Bader. 0 for 1 of the strikeout. Misplayed that fly ball to deep center field in the second.
And, you know, you guys were talking about Machado. He has one of the all-time great nicknames in the game. El Ministro de Defensa, the Minister of Defense. Our good friend Ernesto Jerez gave him that nickname, and it has stuck.
And you delivered it perfectly, of course. Bader fouls this one off.
That's almost worth having him say it again.
Yeah, I agree.
El Ministro de Defensa.
Not many people will argue with that. I mean, we remember him for years in Baltimore, whether it was playing shortstop or third, making some plays that would just make your jaw drop.
Strom's second pitch of the game for Padres after Chris Paddock lasted 2 1/3. Bader's third batter face, and Bader fouls one off. If you joined us late, the reason Paddock's start was so important for the San Diego team, their top pitchers Mike Clevenger and Dinelson Lamet left off the roster for this round of the postseason due to injury.
The one thing that I don't understand, Tom, and you nailed it, when all of a sudden, after a pop-up to Colton Wong and Edman got a base hit, I mean, you talked about Goldschmidt and how dangerous he was. And what happens? First pitch fastball down the middle, 2-run shot.
And that could be the deciding swing of this game number 1. Cardinals lead by 4. Fernando Tatis Jr. will lead off the third inning for San Diego. Kwon Young Kim of St. Louis has had to deal with the leadoff man in each of the first 2 innings. Chase Tingler, Padres manager, moments ago, we caught up with him. Chase Tingler joins us now. Jace, Chris Paddock goes 2 1/3. What does that do to your pitching for the rest of this game?
Well, we're going to have to string it together now. You know, they came out, jumped on him early, got some first pitches up, never really gave him a chance to settle in. It looked like, Chris was going to be able to settle in there. I thought after the second, but now we've got to string it together. Our guys know it's all hands on deck, and we've been here before, so we're going to piece it together now.
Jace, Jake Cronenworth, when did you know how special and how versatile he was?
Well, you felt good about it during the COVID camp and all through the workouts, but you never really know. He got his opportunity with Haas being sick. Maybe it was week 1 or so of the season, and stepped right in and has never looked back.
Jace, thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
39-year-old rookie manager out of Smithville, Missouri. Tingler played his college ball at the University of Missouri. And he had great things to say about Fernando Tatis when we talked to him today about the energy that he brings to the ballpark every day.
Yeah, and he talked about that energy being contagious. And you know what that tells me? I mean, you hear it quite a bit. You talk about a guy that loves to play the game. Doesn't care if he's, down 6-2 or up 6-2. Just a love and a passion to put that uniform on.
Tatis drew a walk his first at bat. When he connects, the ball flies. Second in the National League in home runs with 17, and the highest average exit velocity this year, 96 coming off the bat.
And we're talking about a middle infielder. Yeah, that velocity is rare, but so is it coming from that position.
Battling Kim here. The payoff. Breaking ball fouled off down the right side, and the count stays full.
I think this is the difference right here you're seeing between the 2 starting pitchers this afternoon. One of them with the confidence and ability to throw anything over in a 3-2 count. And the other guy kind of being restricted to, I'm going to have to go with a heater because I'm not real confident I can get anything else over.
Kim throws his four-seam fastball less than 50% of the time. Breaking ball pulled foul.
Just trying not to give him that fastball up and away. Tatis Jr. with tremendous opposite field power, even in this ballpark.
Again, the payoff. Up, and that one's tomahawk to left. A line drive single for Tatis. And the Padres always a threat at the top of the order now with Machado coming up.
Just uncanny, his ability to take the barrel of the bat to the baseball. And that really being able to figure out the balance between slug and contact. I mean, this is just a whole package right here. The improvement that he has shown defensively, and I know this is a short season, but for him to be able to go out there as often as he has really been important to this team being where they're at.
Mike Maddox is joined by interpreter Craig Choi as they go out to talk with Kwon Young Kim. What would this conversation be about at this point in the game?
You know, here's something I've learned from Mike Maddox a long time ago, particularly when he went down there in Texas and had all that success. He goes to Washington. Now that he's here with St. Louis, he says a lot of times the first thing I do is go out there and ask Yadier Molina, what do you see? And why wouldn't you? The experience that Molina has, the postseason, him back there really having the best view of what's going on out there. And then Mike Maddox will add maybe a little something. He's having trouble with this. Mike Maddox mechanically can tell him what one of those keys is and see if he can't come back. I just think the big conversation right now is let's don't fall behind. Let's don't go 3-2 on a guy like Tatis or a guy like Machado who's coming up now. If he's going to get you, make him get you early in the at-bat.
There's action in the Cardinals bullpen as Helsley begins to get loose.
There's 100 miles an hour waiting on you.
There's a sense of urgency in every game in Major League Baseball today, whether it's the second game of your series or game number 1. The best of 3 to decide who moves on. Manny Machado looks at a fastball inside, 1-0.
I think KK, as Mike Maddox told us we could call him, I think he's a little frustrated with the tight strike zone we've seen so far.
Molina racing to the on-deck circle, and the veteran makes the play, fires across the diamond, and that will keep Tatis at first base.
How many catchers anywhere? How many catchers anywhere make this play? I mean, first of all, knowing right where the ball is, having the soft hands, not really knowing where the dugout is, not knowing if the on-deck circle has a bat or a weighted bat or something waiting there. Look at him, how he goes down right there. I think the one thing that might have helped him a little bit is knowing that he's going to the friendly side of the field. If he goes into that dugout, he's going to get some help from his teammates.
Hosmer swings at the first, deep left field. Carlson has it. 2 down.
He got under it.
That has really been the big difference in Eric Hosmer this year as opposed to in the past. He's been a guy that they've talked about who over the winter embraced that launch angle thing that everybody's talked about, being able to get the ball in the air more often. And normally when he hits one like that off the barrel to the opposite field, that ball is either going off the top of the wall or it's going out of the ballpark. I think he was shocked right there that maybe that ball got knocked down by the wind.
You can hear him say got under it just a little bit. Here's Will Myers in the cleanup spot for San Diego. Kim starts him off with an off-speed pitch, 0-1. Myers, the only strikeout victim of the day from Kwang Young Kim. And he's quickly down in the count, 0-2.
I know everybody's going to talk about the Dodgers, and they should with their power and versatility, but this offense of San Diego is not far behind it as far as their potential.
They've got the pieces, don't they?
Yeah. And I mean, if this was a 3-2 game or even a 4-2 game, I think you'd see Tatis getting the green light. I don't care if there's a left-hander on the mound or not. This guy knows how to run the bases. He's got the speed to steal.
And now Myers drops a single into center field. Tatis around third, enough to draw the throw into second. Runners at the corners, 2 down.
Hugo of Hair by Hugo believes every customer deserves the personal touch. I'm the Hartford Buck, and I believe Hugo's business does too.
With insurance designed for your small business, the Buck's got your back.
Sud, I don't know about Hugo, but you see Clevenger and Strom and all these other San Diego pitchers. I wonder if the barbers are still in business in your neck of the woods.
I ended up having my wife cut my own hair because I started to look like Billy Ray Cyrus with that mullet going, and I'm not going back there again. I have people laugh about photos from 20 years ago that still bother me.
Achy breaky haircut, huh? Tommy Pham looks at a fastball inside. Opportunity here for Pham. He wanted to play every day in St. Louis. He was incredibly productive, not just at the big league level, but when he was at the AAA level, and didn't feel like he got a fair shake when he was wearing a Cardinals uniform. And while he's been battling injuries this season, you can imagine there's a little bit of extra motivation facing this club.
I really have him as the X factor as far as position players in this series. I don't know what to expect. I know what he's capable of. I think the Cardinals, too, partner, and you know this story. Pedro knows it as well. They deserve a lot of credit for what they did with Tommy Pham. He had a lot of problems with his vision. They couldn't get the contact lenses. They couldn't get it together. And they continued to look and look and look. And finally, they were able to get his vision to where he could play at this level.
Well,
can you imagine that? Not being able to see at 100% with a guy throwing 100 miles an hour. Yeah.
Blossomed into a 300 hitter in 2017 with the Cardinals. And he fouls this one up, but his frustration came in 2016 among other times. They ran Brandon Moss out there every day in his position, and Moss went 9 for 91. Cardinals missed the playoffs by 1 game. And here he is thinking, I'm better than everybody else you have. You try Matt Adams out there the next season. You want to go to the postseason, put me in the lineup. Cue to the right side, and that one will get through. Tatis scores, and Pham didn't look pretty, but it'll be a line drive in the scorebook. Trickles one the opposite way for his first hit.
I agree with you. I think he had a couple of pitches early in that bat that he could have done some damage with, but once he got 2 strikes on him, he just had to find a way to make contact. You're going to try to throw that breaking ball on the outside part of the plate. I'm going to let you dictate the action. I'm going to go with it, and able to add another run and get these Padres one step closer to that Cardinal lead.
This explosive offense has keyed the Padres to 22 comeback wins this season, the best in all of baseball. Of course, the back end of the bullpen plays a big role in that too. And now here's the rookie Cronenworth, tripled off the top of the fence in center field to start the second.
You just don't want to forget about the speed of Tatis, even with 2 outs, being aggressive on that base hit from Will Myers going to third. Just outstanding base running and the aggressive part and athleticism. Just another tool for these San Diego Padres.
Cronenworth played his college ball at Michigan. He was also the team's closer and set the single season saves record with the Wolverines. Grew up in a hockey family. Said I was probably better at hockey. But 150 pounds as a senior in high school and fell in love with the game of baseball with this incredible work ethic. Ahead in the count, 2-1 with 2 on.
They just talk about him from the very beginning when he walked into the clubhouse in spring training of being a leader. And just one of those go-to guys in a clubhouse that is always talking the game and always trying to learn and get better and ask questions.
Came over from the Rays in a Tommy Pham deal for Hunter Renfroe, Xavier Edwards.
Kind of a throw-in, huh?
Mm-hmm. Heck of a throw-in. Lifted to left. Carlson for the 3rd out of the inning. Missed opportunity for San Diego. Only 1 run on 3 hits. They strand a pair.
Just tell Siri, show me the MLB postseason schedule.
And we can do that. Here's the bracket. On this side of things, Brewers Dodgers get underway 10 o'clock tonight on ESPN. Marlins beat the Cubs 5-1 this afternoon at Wrigley, and the Braves in 13 innings walked off the Reds. What a game that was. A 1-0 final in 13. Freddie Freeman delivered the heroics there.
MVP?
MV free. Colton Wong looked to the pitch low. It's amazing the close of the season Freddie Freeman had. Marcell Ozuna hitting behind him. Ozuna was with the Cardinals last year, was looking to return to St. Louis, wanted a 2-year deal. They said no thanks. He signed a very team friendly deal to go to Atlanta. and a difference maker in that lineup. Wong shoots this one to the gap. It'll get up against the fence and end up by the surfboards. An automatic double for Kolten Wong to start the fourth.
Well, make that 8 consecutive games that the Cardinals second baseman is it in. He's a guy at the top of the order. He's got the speed that they need up there. Last year he was one of the leaders in bunting for base hits. Finding a way to get himself into scoring position is always the thing you look for from the leadoff spot, and Kolten Wong able to do it again.
Craig Stammen is a new pitcher for the Padres. 25th appearance.
It's been a rough year for the veteran right-hander. This is a guy that has put up a lot of big innings for these guys the last couple of years. He's a guy that they still have a lot of confidence in.
95 called strike low in the zone.
I think Stammen's one of those guys that every team needs. You know, you need that versatile guy on the bench like Edman is, can play the infield and outfield. Every bullpen needs a guy that'll pitch in any situation. He'll mop up. He'll spot start. He'll give you the bulk innings that they talk about. Stammen's been that guy, and in the past, up until this season, he's been really, really good.
Edman chops it down the line. It's going to stay foul. I want to go back to what we were talking about a moment ago with Freddie Freeman and Marcell Ozuna, because I look at the Cardinals roster in this batting order with Paul Goldschmidt in the 3-hole and the black hole that's been the cleanup spot. What a difference it would make if Goldschmidt had a threat behind him.
Well, kind of looking at the first 2 at-bats today for Dylan Carlson. maybe they finally do now.
Might
Carlson,
be the guy.
of course, was a #1 pick a couple of years ago, and you know, when you got a guy like that at the minor league level, there's times you got to make room for him, and I'm sure that led to the decision of not bringing Ozuna back.
Got him looking inside. And Stammen's got a K. So that'll bring Paul Goldschmidt up. Ozuna this year, 18 home runs, OPS over 1,000. The Cardinals outfielders as a group combined for only 21 home runs, an OPS of 677.
I don't know. I mean, obviously Ozuna, everything went together, but Ozuna didn't have to stay away from baseball for almost 3 weeks like these Cardinals did.
Goldschmidt fouls one off. Fair point. You think about all the questions that have occurred, and Mike Schilt has said, listen, we're not going to make excuses for it, but this is unprecedented, not just in baseball, really in all of sports. A total shutdown. You know, talked with Adam Wainwright today, and he was talking about throwing in his own neighborhood, moving across the street and throwing from his neighbor's yard. And even in addition to that, they were locked in their hotel in Milwaukee for over a week. So many hoops they had to jump through just to play this season. And Mike Schilt said there was a point after we had thought we'd cleared everything. We got one more COVID test, and I thought, that's it. They're going to move on without us.
Well, and how about Kim leaving his family back in January to come to spring training, and he still hasn't been able to see him. I mean, coming over here for your first year and all of the adjustments that go into that, and not being able to have the support of your family in person.
Goldschmidt pulls this one foul. Tough year all the way around for this Cardinals team. They clinched their spot final day of the regular season. Lost a series in the last week in Kansas City, and they had 5 games in 4 days against the Brewers. And oddly enough, There were 2 postseason pictures taken at Busch Stadium on the final day of the season. The Cardinals clinched with the win. The Brewers backed their way in with a couple of losses. They came back out in the field and took their team picture afterwards.
Thank you.
We talked about a 60-game season and how it closes the gap between the powerhouses and the non-powerhouses. And just thinking about Craig Counsell in Milwaukee, we know about Craig Counsell in the World Series. We know the energy that he has brought to that team in Milwaukee back in the postseason again. I mean, possible for them to beat the Dodgers 2 out of 3? Absolutely. Over 162 games, I don't think anybody would think they could keep up.
Dodgers leading baseball in home runs and ERA. Nola's going to get out his cheat sheet and make sure they're on the same page, literally.
Yeah, and then he flashed a sign which is telling the pitcher what sequence, a series of the signals that he's going to have with that man on second. That's another great rule of Major League Baseball, limiting the amount of mound visits.
Going to go through the signs one more time. Is this frustrating as a pitcher?
Yeah, you'd like to have a better pace to that, but you understand it, and you respect a guy that hasn't had an opportunity to catch you a lot. We know that Jason Castro has also been an addition to these Padres, so they've split it up with Nola getting the majority of it. You just want to get it right.
Oh.
I think too, as a hitter, when you see a pitcher with all the confusion on that, I mean, a lot of times with a catcher, they're going to put down a sign, and if you shake off on that, he's going to go right to a fastball. But when you shake and shake and shake, then as a hitter, well, I know it doesn't be a fastball. It got to be something off speed, and on that pitch, Goldschmidt just spit on that curveball.
To short, Tatis glances to third. Will take the out at first. 2 down.
Hey, some interesting news. Major League Baseball just announced they are going to sell 11,500 tickets for every NLCS and World Series game played at Globe Life Field. Stadium holds a little over 40,000, so it'll be about a quarter of the attendance in that stadium, capacity I should say. The ALCS, which will be played right here at Petco Park, California, under far different restrictions than Texas. No tickets for the ALCS here.
We'll take what we can get, right, in this wild and wacky season. If we can get fans into one facility and do it safely and give folks a chance to see their team in person, that's great news. As of now, just a bunch of cardboard cutouts.
Absolutely thrilled for the owners of the Texas Rangers. Building that brand new ballpark, finally giving the fans an opportunity to enjoy it.
Enjoy the air conditioning. Ball and a strike.
Hart.
To Dylan Carlson. Want to clap or cheer for your favorite team when you're not at the ballpark? Now you can with MLB's Cheer at the Ballpark. Visit MLB.com/cheer for a full list of cheerable games and let your team hear your excitement from home. Cardinals would be excited about Dylan Carlson. He's the youngest Cardinal with 2 hits and 2 runs in his first postseason game since Joe Ducky Medwick in 1934.
What's that?
And you said it, Sut. Maybe this is the guy who fills the spot.
Well, I think so many times, like when you got a guy that's knocking on the door and he's ready, and he's a first-round draft pick and he's done everything at the minor league level, you got to clear a spot for him. There's got to be an opportunity for them to perform, and maybe that's what they were thinking with Carlson.
His dad was his head coach at Elk Grove High School in California. Well, they had a loaded program there, including Nick Madrigal, now with the White Sox.
Wow. Okay.
Played with Nick and his brother. This was the hole we're talking about in the cleanup spot. Second to last in Major League Baseball in batting average. You talk to folks around the Cardinals organization, one thing they've really been impressed with Carlson for his age, and maybe this is part of being a coach's son, but he has struggled at the plate at times, yet he doesn't take those struggles into the field with him. You'll watch him strike out to end an inning, he'll grab his glove and he'll sprint out to the outfield.
Yeah, and I remember Mike Schilt talking about the maturity, and that's exactly one of those things that you're talking about. Steady, a guy you can count on, shows up every day, whether he went 0 for 4 or 4 for 4 with that same face.
Swinging the bat with a lot of confidence now, which is a departure from where he was when he first came up to the big leagues. Full count now.
3-2.
21 years old, batting cleanup in a playoff game for the St. Louis Cardinals. And he ignores the breaking ball from Stammen, a 2-out walk, and Dylan Carlson has reached base safely in all 3 plate appearances in this one.
Thanks.
I think I was more impressed with that at bat than either of the first 2, even though he was driving the ball to the opposite field. I mean, he covered a fastball in, he covered a breaking ball away, he spit on that last breaking ball. Yeah, you'd like to drive in that run, you'd like to pick up an RBI, but you know what? You'd also like to keep that line moving.
Yadier Molina to the plate. He is 2 for 2 in this one. To put in perspective Molina's postseason experience, 7th all-time in games played. Just think of it from a catcher's perspective. The great Yogi Berra played in 75 games in the postseason. Molina's playing in his 99th.
We know that back in Yogi Berra's day that, you know, there were only 4 postseason games.
Sure.
The National League played the American League in the World Series.
Shows you how often that Yankees team was around. Jeter 158 in his career. Molina guarding the plate, fouls an 0-2 pitch off. How about this? Padres was 73 total.
Right along with all of the games that he's played, what about the success that he's had? He's pretty much been on par with his regular season numbers with what he has done in the postseason. Picked up career hit number 2,000 earlier this year at St. Louis. Big deal. And as you mentioned, he just continues to add to that.
We'll see Adam Wainwright tomorrow. No reason we wouldn't expect Yadier Molina to be behind the plate again for St. Louis. And with that, that would make their 274th career starts as a battery.
You know, one thing about Yadier Molina is as you look at his numbers in the division series, yeah, he hit 213. In 8 league championship series, he hit 312. In the 4 World Series that he's played in, 328. I mean, think about the wear and tear of all the games that he plays, and yet just continuing to get better.
2 balls and 2 strikes, and make everybody else better. Talk with some Cardinals pitchers, and they said he makes you better in more ways than one. Yes, when he's behind the plate, he's going to make you a better pitcher in that game. But then, between innings, after the game, on the flight, he will share the knowledge with you and make you a better pitcher because he thinks about the game and sees the game different than 99% of the people on the field. Again, fights one off.
I know there's not a stat for it, but I'm guessing that Cardinal pitchers shake off less than any team in baseball, just because of that knowledge, Tom, that you were talking about.
Well, how long will that knowledge impact major league players as he passes it on and eventually leaves the game, and those guys that threw to him pass it on and down the line? Molina with a swing and a miss after a tough at bat, and the Cardinals strand a pair in the 4th inning. Playoffs are back in beautiful Southern California. Top of the 4th inning, Cardinals 6, Padres 3. Game 1 of this 3-game series. Download the MLB app to get in-game video highlights, live pitch by pitch, breaking news, player updates, stat leaderboards, and much more. Kwon-Young Kim going into the 4th inning of work. Sut, the only struggle he's had has been with the leadoff man.
That's exactly right. I mean, all 3 innings he's allowed that first guy to get on, and a couple of times it's been Fernando Tatis Jr. But you want to pick up a win. You want to get through 5 innings here this afternoon in your first career postseason start. That would be a good place to start. Get that first pitch ready to get the first hitter out.
Second plate appearance for Nola. Had a sac fly first time up, and he looks at a first pitch strike. Kim's got a great variety of pitches. He's developed his changeup over the years. He learned it from Guy Conti, who also taught that pitch to Hall of Famer Pedro Martinez. Conti was a guest instructor with the SK Wyverns in their spring training. They've been going to Vero Beach over the last handful of years.
Hart.
So that's a Korean baseball team coming over for spring training in Florida. And guest instructors stop by all the time. Fastball's pretty good too. 3 pitches to dispatch Nola.
You know, people have asked me many times, what's the key to getting that first hitter out? A lot of people talk about first pitch strikes. Well, when you have those 8 warm-up pitches, you know what that first pitch is going to be. So rather than being just a guy of habit and how you're going to do this, you're going to do that. But look at that fastball, a generous call on that 3rd strike. But whatever that first pitch of the at bat is going to be, disguise it during those 8 warm-up pitches and get it ready. If it's going to be a curveball, as it was in that first at bat to Austin Nola, throw a couple of them till you get that release point. And if you don't find that release point, then don't be a slave to that first pitch. Think about something else you can do that can help you get that out.
Jerks and Profar 0 for 1 of the fly out to left. What do you mean disguise it in those 8 warm-up pitches?
Well, you don't want to come out and throw, say, 2 fastballs, and then if you're going to throw a curveball, throw like 5 in a row trying to find that release point. You know, those guys in the on-deck circle are going to pay attention to that. They're going to watch what you're trying to do. But if you throw a couple of fastballs and you throw that first curveball for a strike in your warm-ups, and that's the pitch you want to start out with, well, then get away from it. Just go to something else to finish those 8, knowing that you've got that thing ready to go.
Kim wants some time. We'll walk the back of the mound and readjust.
This is my first time getting a chance to watch him in person, and as you mentioned, Tom, he's fun. I mean, I don't mind him getting a little upset when he doesn't get the call. You see him smiling from time to time.
Slow roller to third, bare hand play, and a beautiful scoop by Goldschmidt. Edman and Goldschmidt combined to retire Profar.
I'm telling you right now, the #1 reason these Cardinals are better defensively than they've been is because of Paul Goldschmidt. You have so much confidence as an infielder that if you don't overthrow him at first base, more times than not, he's going to come up with that. Let's say you've got somebody at first base that's not solid defensively. That's an E5. The ball's down the line. Who knows whether the runner's at second or even at third base right there. But that confidence that you have with a guy like Paul Goldschmidt, he reminds me, Tom, in so many ways of Jeff Bagwell. Now Bagwell is one of my good buddies, and I'm only saying this because I know he's listening. Goldschmidt's a lot taller than Jeff was, okay? I mean, it was easy to throw it over Jeff's head. But I know Jeff Bagwell's also a Hall of Famer. You look at those Gold Gloves. I mean, that guy down in Houston did a lot of the same things that St. Louis is seeing now. That's not an easy thing to do. You got the runner coming down the line. He's inside the line there. A lot of first basemen might give up on it. They might not be able to get to it. They might bring their foot off the bag.
Well, Sut, he's out there every day. Last year led the team in games played. This year played in all 58. Now their 59th game of the season. Last season, he became one of only 3 Cardinals first basemen to play in every game. Pedro Guerrero in '89. Bill White in 1963.
Both Bagwell and Paul are from back east. Baggy was a Maine guy. I think Goldie's I think he's Delaware or something like that.
Ended up at Texas State and played his high school ball, I think, around the Houston area, Woodlands High School.
I remember
that's east of you. That's east where you are, so that counts.
Yeah, of course it does. I remember when they called him up when they went on that run. Kirk Gibson was their manager. Gibby was wanting him. He was wanting him from the first week of the season. Finally got him, and they made a nice little run.
Two-run home run for Goldschmidt on the first pitch he saw in the first inning. Cardinals lead by 3 here in the 4th with the bases empty for the 9-hole hitter Trent Grisham.
Tell you what, though, Grisham trying to get on, knowing who's coming up next if he can do that.
And he does. Kim wants that big pitch back. Grisham threw the eye of the Dodgers after her homering against Kershaw. And he glared at Kim a little bit before walking down the line. So here's the danger zone, right? You've got Tatis followed by Machado with 2 out in the inning. And the Cardinals bullpen will see some action. Helsley has ball in hand.
I think it's time to go that way, because if Tatis could get on like he has the first 2 times, Machado would come up representing the tying run.
So the pride of South Korea, out of Incheon, South Korea, Kwang-Hyun Kim in his first start goes 3 2/3 in the postseason. He'll turn it over to the pen. Kwang-Hyun Kim was born right-handed. The only thing he does left-handed is pitch, and he does that pretty well.
He has the ability to pitch. That's exactly right. Command of that fastball. We saw it to both sides of the plate. Had a little bit of trouble getting that leadoff hitter out in those first 3 innings. Ran into trouble here in the 4th with that walk with 2 outs. But overall, he got that big lead early in the ball game and was able to get some big outs to end some innings that could have ended up with a crooked number.
26-year-old flamethrower Ryan Helsley on the hill now for St. Louis. 13th appearance, an ERA of 5 1/4. And 10 strikeouts in 12. And he starts Fernando Tatis off with 97.
Yeah, that was just a little get-over fastball. He's got more than that, and he's got a wipeout slider in his repertoire. He's been roughed up a little bit this year, but his last 5 outings for the Cardinals have been scoreless.
Second year with St. Louis, 24 appearances last year. And Tatis sends this one to right field. Fowler with a leaping catch. That'll end the inning, and that might be your defensive play so far. Fernando Tatis retired for the first time in this game, with Fowler covering some ground in right.
I thought this ball had a chance to go out of the ballpark when it was first hit. We've seen Tatis Jr. do that all year long. He's led these Padres in home runs in that category. A tremendous play by Dexter Fowler. We know that in years past he's been the guy that was roaming out there in center field. A lot of that range is still there, and a lot of confidence still in the Cardinals in him defensively.
Cardinals with a 6-3 lead here in the 5th inning. As we move to the 5th, I should say. Petco Park, the site, first time hosting the postseason in 14 years. It'll be DeYoung, Carpenter, and then Fowler due up here in the 5th inning. Both starting pitchers are done for the day. Matty, thanks. Beautiful weather here in San Diego, as you might imagine. Temperature in the upper 80s at Petco Park. Tom Hart here in Charlotte. Rick Sutcliffe is there in Southern California. Neither starting pitcher held his own today. Paddock was done quickly. Kwang Young Kim didn't last too long. This will be a bullpen game rest of the way.
You know, and the thing I think of is the past history between these two teams. And obviously you got to go back a long ways, but these Cardinals are 9-1 in the last 10 postseason games against San Diego. They jump right off to that 4-0 lead there in the first inning. You thought it was going to be more of the same, but this Padre team's a lot different than some of those teams in the past. They've got the ability to come back and catch these Cardinals and even pass them because of what they can do offensively.
Yeah, they lead all of baseball in comeback wins. They've had 22 of them in just a 60-game season. Here's how things unfolded in the first inning. Paul Goldschmidt saw first pitch fastball, and he took it over the wall and left. That was a 2-run home run. The hits just kept coming. Dylan Carlson a double, Yadier Molina a single, Matt Carpenter with a sac fly eventually. The Cardinals with 1 out would rip off 5 straight hits against Chris Paddock, the surprise starter today for San Diego, due to their 2 aces not making the postseason roster due to injury. So on we go to the 5th, and the Cardinals lead 6-3 here in Game 1 in San Diego.
Yeah, Tom, it was kind of funny. Last night, as I was doing my research, I saw that in 1996 and 05 and 06 that the Cardinals had eliminated the Padres from postseason play, and I realized that was all manager Bruce Bochy. So Boch being a buddy and, you know, living here in San Diego, you know, I called and I said, hey, Bo, I said, you kind of got roughed up by those Cardinals, didn't you? And, you know, he kind of laughed about it. And, hey, now, breaking ball, getting away. Gladly take that hit by pitch in the middle of the back from Pierce Johnson. Pierce Johnson, one of those guys who has found extra velocity out of that bullpen. And that curveball being a big pitch for him. But anyway, I'm teasing Boch, and yeah, they got me, Bo. They got me. And I said, you know, what do you think about this? He goes, well, think about something else. He goes, do you remember the postseason in 2012 and 2014? And I go, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was after the Padres had let Bochy go and he took over the Giants that they eliminated the Cardinals in the league championship series in 12. When the Cardinals were up 3-1, they came back and won those last 2 games in St. Louis, and then of course they beat them 4 out of 5 in 2014 when Bochy's team went on to win their 3rd World Series in just a 5-year span.
All he had to do was change uniforms and addresses. Matt Carpenter with an RBI single and a sac fly. He's driven in a pair today. Looks at the curveball from Pierce Johnson inside. You think back to that 06 postseason, that San Diego team featured a 37-year-old Mike Piazza behind the plate. Khalil Green was at shortstop. Dave Roberts on that squad. And their closer is at the ballpark today, the Hall of Famer Trevor Hoffman.
Man, you can just hear hell's bells ringing, as the Padres did here before the game when they honored their Hall of Famer.
In for a strike to Carpenter. 1-2.
When I look back and as we look at the Hall of Famer and that high leg kick, I have no doubt in my mind he could still come in and put up a 0 in the 9th inning. I just, you know, I think about the mistakes that the Padres made. We know what happened in 2004. They had the #1 pick overall, and they take Matt Bush. The #2 pick that year, Justin Verlander. They make the postseason in 05 and 06. We know that Verlander got to the major leagues and started dominating in 06. What if he's a Padre? I got a feeling Bochy would still be a Padre.
Carpenter goes down swinging. I could go even deeper if you want between these 2 programs, these 2 franchises. How about 1982? Shortstop for shortstop. Gary Templeton to San Diego, and the Wizard Ozzie Smith ends up in a Cardinals uniform.
Wow. A lot of people might have thought that the Cardinals made a mistake there because Templeton was that combination of offense and defense. With Ozzie at that time, it was just defense.
Fowler bangs one up the middle against the shift. It'll get through. And Dexter Fowler has his first hit of the game. DeYoung to second, 2 on, 1 down.
Dexter knows a lot about postseason play and success in the postseason and parades. He was that guy back in 2016 leading off for the Chicago Cubs. And that saying back then was, you go, we go. And they went all the way to that World Series championship for the first time in, as everybody knows, over 100 years.
Here's a center fielder, Harrison Bader, 4th year at the Cardinals out of the University of Florida.
Jump on that fastball. You saw that swing there? Big league hitter missing a pitch by maybe 2 feet. It has a lot to do with the outstanding curveball for Pierce Johnson, but it also has to do with those shadows that a hitter's looking at now. That ball's coming out of the dark into the light for a split second, back into the dark.
Back to the breaking ball again, 0-2. As a pitcher, what's the best way to take advantage of that?
Spin it. Spin it. This is a lot like the 8th and 9th inning at Wrigley Field back when all they did was play day games. You see it come out of his hand and you think that's where it's going to end up. That last breaking ball that came out of his hand looked like it was going to hit Bader, and he kind of froze, and with it being a breaking ball, that spin brought it back for a called strike. Expand that zone down.
Bader goes down swinging for the 3rd time in this game.
There's a pretty good chance we're going to see a lot of swinging and missing at breaking balls for at least probably the next hour. So Dexter Fowler was smart enough to jump on that first pitch fastball, partner.
So we got some new folks watching. They may not be aware of what San Diego did with their postseason roster today. Their 2 best starting pitchers were not on the postseason roster for this round. And so they will have a bullpen day if there is a game 3. But they essentially have a bullpen day today. It is all hands on deck for San Diego. Pierce Johnson is the 4th different pitcher they've used. Clevenger and Lamet both left off the roster, dealing with injuries that crept up in the final series of the season at San Francisco.
Devastating. I mean, I have no doubt in my mind. I would have run Lamet out there in the first game. He's just been overpowering. And, you know, you look for that strikeout guy in the postseason. Those are the guys that have had the most success. You look at Scherzer and Strasburg. You look at those type of guys. And those are the type of guys that Jace Tingler had to begin with until that last week, as you said.
Grounded to short. Tatis will finish the frame. No runs after the leadoff man reached on a hit by pitch. Middle of the 5th. Cardinals up 6-3. The 2020 Wild Card Series presented by Hankook Tire. Game 1, best of 3 from San Diego, and the Cardinals got up to a great start in this one. Where you move to the bottom of the 5th, St. Louis leading San Diego 6-3. Tom Hart, Rick Sutcliffe, and Pedro Gomez. And a perfect day in San Diego, as you probably expected. Temperature in the mid-80s. Late afternoon now. Ryan Helsley relieved Kwang Young Kim with a runner on in the 4th. Got a fly out of Fernando Tatis, and now he deals with Manny Machado.
Thought it was kind of funny earlier this year when Fernando Tatis Jr. was getting all of that attention, going to be the MVP. It's almost like Manny Machado said, hey, hold on a minute here. You're forgetting about me. I'm the man. And the next thing you know, back-to-back National League Players of the Week. Monsters, home runs, just basically doing everything. And for those 2 weeks, yeah, you're right. He didn't miss those hanging breaking balls as he did there.
Got something in the eye, and we'll step away for a moment. 24th postseason game for Machado between the Orioles and the Dodgers in 2018. What a close of the season for Manny Machado. You know, when you have a season like this, every stat line is impressive no matter how you break it down. But at Petco Park this season, an OPS of 1190, third best in Major League Baseball. Came in on his hands and popped him up. DeYoung in the shadows. One down. Never been a day like this in MLB history. Kind of feels like March Madness. 8 best of 3 wild card games. Cap it off tonight. Brewers and Dodgers, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific here on ESPN. And as always, streaming live on the ESPN app. Fall Frenzy, March Madness, one and the same. Baseball from noon to nightfall on the East Coast. Or breakfast to bedtime where you are, I suppose.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I heard our buddy Matt Vasgersian earlier today talking about with a game every hour, it's almost like, you know, commuter flights. like from San Diego to L.A., or you might be going from Kansas City to St. Louis.
That's a great point. You miss one, just hang around. Another one coming.
Yeah.
There's Matty, front row seat. Sitting through
Ron
some
Darling
wind
to
and
his
rain
right.
in Cleveland right now.
I think that's Al Leiter over there on the left as you look at the screen. Matty's right.
Wait, do you have
Matty
a
a long time?
Do you have a cutout in Petco?
No.
Huh.
Is Al Leiter. Oh boy, the good left-hander. Of course, Matty was a longtime voice of these San Diego Padres. He was here back when Petco opened. Matty was around. Petco opened in 2004.
Snared by Goldschmidt at first. Another great play by the first baseman, the Gold Glove winner.
Forever and ever, Tommy, people talked about, you know, to be a good team defensively, you got to be strong up the middle. I'm telling you, since I became a broadcaster and got off the field, that changed to me. You look at the teams that win the World Series, and they are outstanding defensively for the most part at first base. You go back to Boston when they won. Late in the game, they'd have Minkiewicz there. You know, you think about the Cardinals winning and Albert Pujols. I just think there's so many things that go on at first base. We've seen guys that have tried to switch to first base late in their careers and not knowing where to be. There are just so many things that are going on. And when you've got a good one, it makes a lot of people around you better.
Off speed inside, a ball and a strike now to Will Myers.
Hosmer's that guy.
Mm-hmm. Reloading. Here's the 1-1.
Compared to just a few years ago, he's the longest tenured. Will Myers, the longest tenured Padre, was talking about the difference today and just a few years ago. He's been here 6 seasons, making him the most senior member. And he was talking about 2017. The Padres actually started the season with 3 Rule 5 players. And he said he walks in the clubhouse now, and there are legitimate major leaguers at every position, and he cannot believe the difference. He also said this could make San Diego a big free agent destination in the coming years.
Oh, no doubt about it. General Manager A.J. Preller has talked about that. He said, listen, we've sped this thing up a little bit. What they did at the trade deadline, closer, a couple of catchers. Mitch Moreland bringing in some veteran presence. And Preller, executive VP and GM, said, well, now all of a sudden, they're talking about me on TV. Yeah. In addition to that, now all of a sudden, free agents are saying, hey, Mr. Agent, could they use me in San Diego? Because look at all that talent I could be playing with. Halsey brings triple digits to Freeze Myers on the outer edge. A 1-2-3 frame. He's retired all 4. What a beautiful sight. Team enjoying its best winning percentage in franchise history. How'd they get here? Fernando Tatis comes over to James Shields trade with the White Sox. Manny Machado signed a 10-year, $300 million contract in February of 2019, and they keep building and they keep adding. The 2020 trade deadline, they traded 16. They got 10 back. By the way, they didn't have to trade their top 5 prospects. And A.J. Preller has said, you know, the Dodgers are the bar, but we're not that far. We can match them at every position now. And we got guys who aren't afraid of October. We can do it now. We don't have to wait.
I think the number one point to me that you brought up right there was, yeah, for a lot of people, they thought that all of a sudden the Padres are all in. They're going for it. They're giving up that terrific farm system that they have. No, they didn't. I mean, their top 5 guys that you mentioned are still intact. The trade that they made with Milwaukee for Davies and Grissom, Padres winners. The trade that they made with Tampa Bay, Padres winners. Bringing over Nola and Castro to fill a huge void that they had at that catching position. Bringing over Clevenger. All right, he got hurt, but you know what? It gave you a shot at having a number 1 guy. And then Kirby Yates, their all-star closer, goes down. Pomeranz at one point had to go on the IL. Let's go get Rosenthal. He's hot. He's with Kansas City. They're not going anywhere. You think about that right along with maybe the best move that he made, and that's when he brought in his buddy Jace Tingler to run this ball club.
Emilio Pagan, the new pitcher for the Padres, with Tommy Edman at the plate. There's a comp to be made, perhaps, if Tingler can lead San Diego to the World Series and a championship in the next couple of years. How about when Theo Epstein brought in John Lester? And bringing in the talent to facilitate that move, then to get to the top. And maybe you're making those moves a year before, 2 years before everybody thinks you would otherwise do so.
Yeah, and you know, Tom, I think that Pedro can add to this, but when you think about giving Machado 10 years, that's a lot. When you think about the multi-years that they gave to Hosmer, man, that's a lot. You think about Will Myers, and well, at that point, I felt like the Padres had to overpay to get the elite players to come here because they weren't winning. It had been forever since they'd been in the playoffs. I think all of that has changed now.
Well, and Rick, you are absolutely correct. And one of the things is I was at the signing when Manny Machado was introduced in spring training in Peoria, Arizona. And I remember talking to one of the co-owners, Peter Seidler, and he said, this signing will change our franchise from here forward. And it's true in the sense that, yes, they had to overpay, like you said, but what it did was it put a different face to this franchise. They all of a sudden had Hosmer the year before. You add Machado, you know, Tatis flourishes, and all of a sudden the Padres are right here in the postseason, but all the blocks were being built all along the line. I know that Logan White, who A.J. Preller brought over, also has played a key role in this entire situation.
Ball and 2 strikes now to Goldschmidt. Think about it. You don't have to do a video with a rock star to try to get a guy to come to your club, right? Didn't you do something with Eddie Vedder?
we might have made a video trying to get Johnny Lester to come put on that Cubby blue uniform and in that curse like he helped him in when he was with Boston.
2 down now on the Goldschmidt fly ball to center field, and that brings Dylan Carlson to the plate. If you haven't been watching this game, Dylan Carlson is having a breakout game as a 21-year-old batting cleanup for the St. Louis Cardinals. He is 2 for 2. He has reached base safely in all 3 plate appearances. He has scored a couple of runs, and the Cardinals haven't seen a postseason performance like this for a 21-year-old since Ducky Medwick in the 30s. Dylan,
As I hear you say that, yeah, and I think about Dylan being here. I go back to when we asked Mike Schilt about that and why he put him there, and he goes, I saw him taking some better swings. I saw him not chasing the pitches that he was when he first got here. He wasn't chasing a hit. He was just trying to get on base. You know, he put him in that cleanup spot for that crucial win on Sunday against Milwaukee. They won that ball game, and they're leading this one.
Earlier this season, he became just the 7th switch hitter age 21 or younger to bat fourth, and the first to do it since Ruben Sierra did it for the Rangers in 1987. When he first came up with the Cardinals, he got off-speeded to death. Sliders, changeups from righties. Never saw the hard stuff, and he sees 97 in on the knuckles there. But back down to the alternate site. Got right, got his confidence right, and came back a different hitter.
Really impressed with his takes. At breaking ball down and in, he didn't expand there. A lot of young hitters are going to chase that fastball up after seeing some off-speed pitches. We got to find out what kind of bubble gum that is he's chewing.
What's your guess?
I'm guessing sugar-free. You know, if the way things are going now.
Even the gum has changed since you played.
Well, there's no doubt, man. You don't see the chewing tobacco. There's been a lot of things that they've cleaned up for the good of the game.
He held off the fastball inside, and a 2-out walk to the 21-year-old Dylan Carlson. So from the 21-year-old Dylan Carlson to the veteran Yadier Molina. 38 years old, a 4th-round pick of the Cardinals in 2000. He was on that Cardinals team that came in here 14 years ago and knocked off the Padres in the postseason.
You know, I remember during the postseason of 2011 when these Cardinals won the World Series. I remember Adam Wainwright calling Yadier Molina our backbone. And when you think about your backbone, I mean, you think about how important and how key it is. And, you know, for this guy coming into this season to have played in over 100 games for what seems like 20 years, I mean, that's the kind of backbone we all wish we had.
This is the kind of career that gets you a statue out in front of the stadium. His games played in St. Louis, 4th most all time. Wainwright, by the way, will form his battery tomorrow with Stan Musial, the late great Lou Brock, and Ozzie Smith.
Yeah. I don't know why they don't just go ahead and put it up.
Served into right field. That'll drop. Its 3rd hit of the game. Carlson will advance to 3rd.
Just kind of think about Yadier Molina and not having to play in, say, 120 games this year and the wear and tear of that heat in the Midwest. This might offensively, when it's all said and done, be the best postseason that he's had, and we've already talked about how good they've been.
It's his first 3-hit game in the postseason since Game 3 of the World Series in 2013. Pedro, we're watching a Hall of Famer in person.
I honestly believe that. I know that a lot of the analytics people have said that they do not believe Yadier Molina is a Hall of Famer. I have been a Hall of Fame voter for 20 years. I plan to check his box the very first year that he is eligible. I do believe that sometimes you know a Hall of Famer when you see a Hall of Famer. And I see a Hall of Famer when I see Yadier Molina.
It's a great point.
I will have zero issues putting a check mark by his name when he's up, 5 years after he's played his final game.
And you won't be the only one. DeYoung watches a pitch miss low, 2-0.
But you'd be surprised people that do not believe he is a Hall of Famer using analytics, and it's one of those things that I do not understand. I do believe, like I said, sometimes you just see a Hall of Famer when you're watching him.
Well, Pedro, there's also people out there that believe the earth is flat. So can't convince everybody. So what do you see? Yeah, what do you see when you see Yadier Molina?
He's a Hall of Famer. I mean, anybody that says no obviously hadn't been paying attention. That's my opinion. But the one thing I think about is I look at all the awards and the Gold Gloves and the All-Star games. How about the 2018 Roberto Clemente?
And a lot of times guys have told me who have won the Roberto Clemente Award, they are almost more proud of that than winning a World Series. I know that Albert Pujols told me he has a spot in his trophy room at his house, and the Clemente Award is in the middle of the room, and the World Series trophies are on the wall.
Final year of Molina's contract. There's a 5-pitch walk to load the bases with 2 out. You mentioned this. You noticed this pregame, the Clemente shirt that Yadi was wearing pregame, Pedro.
Well, and believe it or not, today is the 48th anniversary of Roberto Clemente's final major league hit. Of course, we all know that he finished with 3,000 on the dot before he tragically died that next winter. And to think that 48 years ago today was the day, and Yadier Molina, another proud Puerto Rican like Clemente, wearing that Clemente t-shirt during BP. No surprise whatsoever. Clemente is so revered by everyone in the game, but especially Latin Americans. And you don't have to be from Puerto Rico to put Clemente on that pedestal. Cubans, Venezuelans, Dominicans, it doesn't matter. Mexicans, every Latin American player I've ever spoken to has just revered what Clemente stood for.
What do you think that conversation between Tatis and Molina is all about out there at second base?
They didn't get to see each other this year because, the West played to West and Central played to Central. Knowing Yadier Molina, I'm just guessing that he congratulated him and telling Junior to say hello to Tatis Sr.
I kind of thought maybe Yadi was complaining that they've been stuck at the hotel again. Right? I mean, they were quarantined for so long. They go into a postseason bubble after the Royals game, even when they were at home. And he's pointing around saying, man, look at the gas lamp district. Look where we could be. Look how beautiful is this city. I'm stuck in my hotel room again.
Well, don't forget the Padres. They're at home and they're stuck in a hotel room too. So, yeah, it's different.
Matt Carpenter's driven in a pair today, a sac fly in the first and a single to the opposite field in the third. He's got the bases loaded with 2 down. We're going to see bullpens managed differently in the postseason than we ever have, with no days off within series, whether it's the 3-game series, the 5 or the 7 to follow. And it makes you wonder if the Cardinals can blow this thing open here, if Jace Tingler may go to some little used arms in the bullpen, because they've got to save some guys if they're going to get to 3 games.
Tommy, that's a great point. And I totally agree. A lot of it has to do with this at bat right here. I think about something that I mentioned earlier back when Strom came in the top of the 3rd inning, how, manager Mike Schilt could have pinch hit. Brought in a right-hander, but he didn't. Carpenter paid off in that, and now look, here's an opportunity against a right-handed pitcher for Carpenter to put this game away.
1-2 to Carpenter. And he fouls it off. Padres do not have a Game 3 starter yet. The Cardinals have Flaherty ready to go. He was their ace last year. Wainwright, the veteran, will throw tomorrow.
Really surprised at Pagan this year. This guy was lights out when he was with Tampa Bay a year ago, and I mean he still possesses the same stuff. It's just he's just, I mean, to walk the next 3 guys after getting the first 2 outs, he's better than that.
Maybe his biggest pitch of the game, the 1-2. Blocked by Nola. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Carpenter.
Partner, that block right there didn't look like a converted infielder, did it?
Nope.
I mean, Nola was just so athletic, and how he slid down. They're getting back on track here as far as what you got to switch it up, because I don't care who you are. These teams are trying to get signs from second base. They're trying to steal locations. So catchers will touch certain things. It says we're going to a different system. Just saving that trip to the mound and hopefully time in the game.
If you're curious about Austin Nola's athleticism, consider this. He took over the starting shortstop role midway through the season of a national championship year at LSU. The shortstop he took over for and booted over to second base, DJ LeMahieu.
Wow. Wow. Batting title in both the American and National League accomplished this year. Getting that American League out of the way. Of course, the National League was with the Rockies. Here we go.
Payoff, bases loaded, and Carpenter sends it into the empty seats. So this could have a devastating effect on San Diego here in Game 1. It could also provide a big boost to Matt Carpenter, who has struggled with his bat this season.
You'd like to throw a breaking ball for a strike here. You just don't know if you have the confidence after walking 2 out of the last 3 guys. Carpenter got a fastball to hit there. If I'm Carpenter, I'm cheating on that fastball this time, trying to do some damage with it.
Carlson at third, Molina at second, DeYoung at first. Again, the 3-2. And he got him swinging at 97. Pagan battles back after loading the bases on a couple of walks and a base hit. Cardinals have stranded 9 through 6 innings, but they enjoy a 3-run lead on the road in San Diego. The Wild Card Series is presented by Hankook Tire. Never halfway. Back in the postseason for the first time in 14 years, the Padres trail the Cardinals 6-3. Home half of the 6th. Tommy Pham, Jake Cronenworth, and Austin Nola due up for the home team in those splendid new uniforms. Everything old is new again, Sut.
Brown is back here in Slam Diego. They got to be thinking that. They know what they've done all year long. Get a guy on, get another guy on, get another guy on, and then leave the ballpark and grab that lead back.
Even if I were a mannequin, I wouldn't turn my back on this team at the plate.
You know, you really can't. That's a great point. I mean, Nola hit over 300 when he was with Seattle. Profar was one of the top prospects, if not the #1 in baseball. And you got Grisham, who put up some big numbers in AAA last year. Played in the postseason with Milwaukee. He's hitting 9th.
2-1 pitch is a loud line drive to the gap in right center field. Bader loses his hat as he picks it up, and Tommy Pham with the leadoff double. Second hit of the game for Tommy Pham. Let's take a look at our game track, brought to you by Geico. And so you mentioned Cardinals with some missed opportunities. It's only a 3-run lead. Goldschmidt with a 2-run home run in the first inning. Yadi's 3 for 4. And the Padres only got 2 1/3 from Paddock, but they're threatening here in the 6th.
Yeah, I just think about all the traffic that Stammen and Pierce Johnson and Pagan had, and yet they weren't able to score. That being the Cardinals, the reason that tie and run once again is in the on-deck circle for the Padres.
Helsley is out. Genesis Cabrera comes in from the Cardinals bullpen. 6-3 game. Bottom of the 6th. Back to San Diego in a moment. Welcome back. 2020 Wild Card presented by Hankook Tire. Game 1 of this 3-game series. There's never been a day like this in MLB history. Never been a season like this. 8 best-of-3 wild card games. We cap it all off with Game 1 between the Brewers and Dodgers, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. You can watch it streaming live, as always, on the ESPN app. Genesis Cabrera enters for St. Louis. His first pitch fastball nicks Jake Cronenworth, and the Padres will bring the tying run to the plate.
Well, if you're a Padre fan right now, that's the best thing you could have hoped for. Cabrera has absolutely dominated left-handed hitters this year. In fact, he's pretty much dominated everybody other than the free passes that he's given away. And there's another 90 feet that he just gave up.
So Austin Nola to the plate. Nola had a sac fly in the 2nd, went down looking in the 4th.
They haven't gone deep yet this afternoon, and they did it 95 times during the regular season.
Runner goes, Molina's throw to 3rd, and they dropped the ball. Edman had a play. It looked like the throw beat him.
What'd he do? Just clank it? I mean, Molina comes out. There's that cannon right on the money. And Edman forgot the most important thing to baseball. He needed to reach out in front of the bag to catch that ball. He had the glove leaning against the bag. Once the ball went into the glove and hit the bag, it came back out.
Nola pops it up to right. Pham will look to tag. Fowler, strong throw. Here comes, it's cut off, and they go to 3rd. And they got him hung up there. Cronenworth, the rookie, tagged out between 2nd and 3rd, and that's a huge 2nd out.
That's a huge rookie mistake right there on a part of a guy that, even though it's his first year in the big leagues, Cronenworth knows better than that. He's a winning type player. You tag up right there. When you see the throw is not over the head of the cutoff man, you got to go back. Dexter Fowler with an outstanding throw to Goldschmidt. Goldschmidt right where he needed to be. Cut the ball. Knew there was no play at home. He checked at 3rd, and Cronenworth just ran him into what could be an inning double play right there.
Profar swings and misses at the 1st.
That's up. That's up.
There's a throw. He hits a cutoff man. Wow. I guarantee you, maybe when he was in high school, he made that mistake. Cronenworth's not that type of player. That's a huge mental mistake on his part.
Dribble to 3rd. Tough play. Edman can't make up for it off of his fingertips. And Profar with an infield single. Pedro, how about that play by Paul Goldschmidt?
Well, I'll tell you this right now. If you look at that replay again, you'll notice the quarterback behind the plate yelling to Goldschmidt, cut 3. You see Molina doing what Molina does. Again, we talk about Molina so much. It's all these little things, guys. In the replay, you can clearly see Molina yelling to Goldschmidt.
Boy, Pedro, that's a great thing about having you right behind that dugout, because from my basement here in San Diego, there's no way of knowing that.
And of course, you're working with a 3-time Gold Glover in Paul Goldschmidt, so it makes it a lot easier, I think, for Molina to know the right play is going to be made here.
Pitching and defense for this St. Louis team. Molina, 9-time All-Star, 9-time Gold Glove Award winner. 1-0 to Grisham. Expanded strike zone low. Been the case all day today. 1-1.
This is maybe the biggest difference that you've seen in baseball over the last 30 years is the amount of velocity that comes out of these bullpens.
98 there.
Just a handful of guys. I think back to, a couple of the injuries that the Cardinals have down there. What if Jordan Hicks was still down there with that, 104 miles an hour that he had? Carlos Martinez, we know, is not available. I mean, it's just a huge change.
Martinez out with injury in a final appearance of his season in Kansas City. He's headed back home for the offseason already. .98 for a strike, full count. Genesis Cabrera, 23-year-old out of Santo Domingo, the Dominican Republic. Second season in the big leagues. The payoff. And he missed inside with a fastball. Boy, oh boy, trouble now, because now you get to the top of the order and the most electrifying player in the game, and Fernando Tatis Jr.
Partner, you're exactly right, and you know that Cabrera knows that by the way he reacted when he couldn't throw a strike on that 3-2 pitch to Grisham.
Schilt is going to go back to his bullpen. How big is that double play now? It will loom large. Genesis Cabrera hands it off. It'll be Gallegos out of the pen to face Tatis. I think what it is 6-4, bottom of the 6th inning. Fernando Tatis coming to the plate. Let's take a look at StatCast, powered by Google Cloud. Looks like 4th of July. All the hard hit balls for Fernando Tatis Jr.
Like one of those poppers that when you let go, the streamers just come out everywhere. I can't help but think about right now how loud that crowd would be if we could have fans in that ballpark, and how long these Padre fans have waited for an opportunity like this to scream.
Kind of like you screaming on your paddleboard out in the middle of the water yesterday.
I wasn't happy yesterday. I don't know if ESPN did it on purpose and pulled the plug on. I don't know what happened, but I'm glad to be back with you today.
Giovanni Gallegos on the mound for St. Louis, pitched in the postseason last year for the Cardinals. Dealing with Tatis with 2 down, and he starts him off with a breaking ball up, 0-1.
Well, those shadows are no longer a factor, so you're going to have to make a good pitch to get him out. You know that Tatis Jr. wants to get something in the air. He'd like to leave right now. Saw that breaking ball up. Couldn't quite get to it, but after all of the walks, you know, the last hitter right there, you got to bring in somebody that throws strikes, and that's something that Gallegos is known for doing.
Only 4 walks against 21 strikeouts this season. It's like the DJ turned the sound up, right? Turned the crowd up. Big moment in this game, but nobody in the stands. Tatis 1 for 2 with a single and a walk.
Well, there's not much of a home field advantage other than really the bottom of the 9th. So I guess that control that he's got's about it right now. Look at how it looks like Tatis can just slow this moment down. He's 21. I mean, this fastball's got some heat on it. And take a look at the glove of Yadier Molina. It was exactly where they wanted it. And yet he was just a fraction of a second from getting to that.
Just one piece of the Padres' recipe to success. They lead baseball with a .310 average as a team with runners in scoring position. Profar at second, Grisham at first. One-two to Tatis. Waved down. What a big strikeout for Gallegos with 2 on in a 2-run game.
I keep circling things that I think are the big play and the thing we got to go back to in the play of the game, and they just keep getting bigger and bigger as that breaking ball was.
Top of the 7th inning, game 1 of a best-of-3. The Padres going deeper into the bullpen. Drew Pomerantz, the 6th pitcher used by the Padres in this one. He'll start with Dexter Fowler, and Fowler fouls the first off. 21st appearance for Pomerantz, a 1.45 ERA.
He's been absolutely outstanding. You know, you just, as we talked about earlier, you gotta give more years than anybody else does to get people to come to San Diego. Pomerantz got a 4-year deal. He kind of reinvented himself coming out of the bullpen, found more velocity, and as always, he's always been able to throw strikes.
31-year-old with postseason experience, and the fastball stays up 2-1 to Dexter Fowler, who's 1 for 3 in this one.
And of course, right as I say, he's got great command. He airmails one.
It's like those folks that promise you the Zoom call's going to work. Yeah, sure it is.
You talked about right at the very beginning of the show. Can't believe we made it to this point. I feel that way. I feel that way more than anybody.
This game, in the end, may have been decided in the first inning when Chris Paddock threw a first pitch fastball to Paul Goldschmidt that he put over the wall and left. And if that's the case, then this series could very well have been decided with that swing. Fowler into center field. The reason I say that is they got Zach Davies going tomorrow and no other future plans. And then defensively, the Cardinals with a monster play coinciding with a base running mistake by Jake Cronenworth in the 6th inning. Fowler with the catch. Watch Yadier Molina directing traffic from behind home plate. It's a sac fly, but it turns into a double play. And then Tatis goes down swinging on the breaking ball. You said, partner, that you were circling the big plays of the game. Yeah. You must have circles all over your scorebook.
They are. I mean, it kind of looks like I'm playing checkers with these round things moving around from place to place. But you know, I go back. The play to me that still seems like the biggest was Pagan getting that strikeout of Matt Carpenter. 97 miles an hour fastball. It was I'm better than you for that particular at bat. You know, Pagan was able to do it. That's why we still have a game, and that's why Jay Stingler all of a sudden went to Pomerantz. I mean, you give up a base hit there or you walk somebody, he's probably going to bring somebody else in here, but he's smelling a victory and a possible lead if he can keep putting up zeros out of that bullpen.
Tingler, first-year manager.
He has done an outstanding job. Yeah.
Agreed. Last time the Padres were in the postseason, he was playing in the Cal League, played his college ball at Mizzou, and the son of a couple of high school coaches. His dad, high school softball coach in Smithville, Missouri. His mom, basketball coach.
Hall of Fame coaches, yeah.
Bader
Both
goes down
them.
swinging.
Mom and dad. And, you know, I had a great conversation with A.J. Preller earlier today about that. And I said, tell me about Tingler. How did you, what happened? And he goes, well, we started out with Texas and the Dominican together. And he remembered Tingler as a player. And, you know, in college and at the minor league, he had like 200 walks and only 50 strikeouts. Like, how do you do that? Who does that? And then down in the Dominican, they asked him if he wanted to go as a coach. Well, a lot of times you might go to manage, but you don't go as a coach, you know, to a foreign country. Tingler said, I'll do it. He went down there. He took some Spanish classes. He became bilingual. Him and A.J. Preller became really tight. And then when Mike D did a tremendous job hiring A.J. Preller years ago, when Mike was the president here, all of a sudden, you know, A.J. and Tingler had been together in Dominican. He said like 12 hours a day. Then they were with Texas together. He saw Tingler fill every role that they had with the Rangers. He knew the sabermetrics were important. He knew the scouts were important. And he knew that he was the guy. And, man, when you look at the way things have come together here, you give A.J. Preller a lot of credit for Tingler and a lot of the additions that he made. But Jason's done a tremendous job in his first year.
Preller also knew the pressure was on from above to get San Diego back to the postseason. Shows you the confidence he had on him. Long turns on this one into center field, and it's a quick 1-2-3 frame worked by Pomeranz. Time to stretch in sunny San Diego. Can't say the same for Cleveland, by the way. 2-run lead for the Cardinals. 52-year-old Mike Shildt, the reigning National League Manager of the Year, became the first since Ed Barrow in 1918 to lead his team to the playoffs without having played professional baseball. He wears number 8 for Cal Ripken. His mom worked for the Charlotte O's in a Baltimore affiliate for a long time. And that's where Mike Shildt really learned the game. He would not only run the scoreboard, he'd shine the shoes, he'd go hang out with the guys, hang out with a guy like John Shelby and learn the game and develop an affinity for it.
He just told me a lot of things right there I didn't know, man. That's outstanding. Blessed with the opportunity to spend a couple of years with Cal Ripken. I know you can't go wrong there. And I just, you got to be happy. What a great story the career of Mike Shildt is, and the time that he spent at the minor league level, and all the bus rides and all the things that he did, never making a dime, but not caring. Having the ability to persevere. I don't know that managing in the big leagues was his ultimate goal. I mean, when you talk to him, he seemed really happy wherever he was, as long as he had that uniform on.
A detail-oriented manager. Soft line drive left field. Diving catch made by Carlson. What a game the 21-year-old is having. Took extra bases away from Machado.
I feel like Bert Blyleven. You know how in Minnesota you circled me, Bert? There's another circle. Yeah, right on around there. Outstanding jump on that ball. Terrific diving play. Probably not the easiest catch for a left-hander because of the positioning of your glove. If you got your glove on the other hand, it's going to be more wide open. And, yeah, a round of applause from every Cardinal fan.
Cardinals leading baseball in defensive runs saved, 33 this year. 97 from Gallegos to Eric Hosmer there, 0-1. I don't know when or if it will be fully appreciated what this St. Louis organization went through this year. And I say organization because the players are the ones that we see every day, but the support staff, from the athletic trainers to the equipment guys to the clubbies. Yeah. To the front office folks, in going through an unprecedented season that had them playing a doubleheader at least every week.
And how about what Mike told us earlier today? What did you tell your team throughout all of that? He said, stay day to day. every now and then we're going to have to adapt to something different. And as he said that today, as we look at a great breaking ball from Gallegos and another strikeout, as I think about that, partner, years ago when Vin Scully asked the doctor about a player, the doctor told him, well, he's okay, but he's day to day. And Vin Scully on the air said, but aren't we all? And I mean, really, that's never been more true than what it's been this year for everybody, not just baseball, but for all over the world with the virus that everybody's had to struggle with.
We haven't discussed this, you and I haven't, but you're aware that Vin Scully is on Twitter now?
I am, and one of the best follows that anybody could have, just to be able to hear that voice again.
Bases empty and 2 down for Will Myers. Top 10 in the league in slugging and OPS.
You talked about that voice and Vin Scully. You know, I just turned 20 years of age. I got called up to the big leagues from the Dodgers, and with 4 days to go, Walter Alston said that I was going to be the pitcher. He was retiring. Tommy Lasorda was going to run the club. As I'm warming up in that first inning, I heard a voice. And I'm like, what's going on? I know I'm nervous and all of that, but why am I hearing a voice? I didn't realize that everybody at Dodger Stadium was, back in the day in 1976, everybody brought a radio to the ballpark to listen to the great Vin Scully. And it took a couple innings, but I finally asked, I said, well, what's his voice I'm hearing? And they pointed up to the press box. They said, if you're lucky, one of these days you might get to meet that man. And I was certainly blessed to be able to do that. That's why that Twitter's so much fun now, to still hear that beautiful voice and all the great things Vin Scully has to say.
The best to ever do it. The 2-1. This is upstairs. 3 balls and a strike now. Yeah, these days everybody would have their AirPods in. You wouldn't hear a thing. They wouldn't even hear each other.
You know, I think about that, being blessed to be in Chicago with Harry Carey, and of course my final year with the Hall of Famer Jack Buck. Just doesn't get much better than that.
5-pitch walk will put Myers aboard with 2 down.
Hey now, and an opportunity. Nobody feels worse about that base running mistake than that of Jay Cronenworth, and he being in that on deck circle. If Tommy Pham's able to get on, saying, hey, you know, I might be able to do something about that.
Action in both bullpens right now. Lefty Andrew Miller is throwing for St. Louis. Pham 2 for 3. Here's something interesting about Mike Shildt and his bullpen this season. Because of everything that they've been through and trying to keep arms as fresh as possible when you're playing doubleheaders every series, he doesn't really have a go-to closer. That doesn't mean he doesn't have arms that are reliable in high leverage situations, but he's also not a slave to, I need to go to this guy here and now. Sometimes it's been Andrew Miller, and in this scenario he could bring Andrew Miller in if we get another base runner on with 2 outs in the 7th inning and not think twice about it. Ball and a strike now to Pham. Miller is squatting on the rubber in the bullpen. The shot doesn't really show it. It looks like he's just hanging out. There it is. But he is already thrown, and he is loose and ready to go. Pham gives it a look. That one's going to be into the first row, and the easiest play for that ball boy.
Tommy Pham has had 3 outstanding at bats, and none better than his last at bat when he hit that double to the opposite field.
That ball was smoked.
After that hand injury to that hamate bone on a swing, they didn't know if they were going to get him back or not, and getting him back, they didn't know what they were going to get.
2-2. A lot accomplished for the Padres in the last series of this season in San Francisco. Getting continued at bats from guys who had struggled or been on the IL, including Eric Hosmer. Getting Tatis going again with a couple of home runs in that series. Tying run on deck. Full count as Gallegos misses with the fastball.
I can just feel Jake Cronenworth getting closer and closer to home plate. Give me a shot. Give me a chance to do something late in this game that makes a difference. I just think, you look at the numbers for the Padres. I think they beat the Dodgers in that first game. Then they lost the next two. And I think they kind of settled for second place as far as the season series.
To short, backhanded pickup DeYoung. And the long throw retires Pham. Another missed chance for the Padres. They can't build on the walk to Myers. To the 8th we go. 6-4 Cards. Game 1 of a best-of-3 in San Diego, and the Cardinals got off to a big start against Chris Paddock. A 2-run home run from Paul Goldschmidt. They would go on to score 4 on 5 hits in the opening frame. Matt Carpenter struck out with the bases loaded, and then the Padres ran into a double play. Jake Cronenworth, the rookie, caught off the bag in between second and third, and finally another big moment in this game. Gallegos with the strikeout of Fernando Tatis with 2 on. We welcome those of you who've been watching the Indians and Yankees and a rain-soaked Cleveland. No such issues in San Diego, where the Cardinals lead 6-4. The game track brought to you by Geico. 12 hits for the Cardinals, a team that has struggled scoring runs this season. Yadier Molina has 3 of them, and Fernando Tatis 1 for 3 with a couple of runs. The Padres have not homered in this game, despite the fact that they hit 95 in 60 regular season games. Garrett Richards on the mound now for San Diego to start the 8th against Tommy Edman.
Good to see Garrett Richards back and being healthy. We remember when he was a starting pitcher for the Angels, and manager Mike Scioscia had some of the best stuff in all of baseball. Has been hurt quite a bit since then. He struggled a little bit. He struggled out of the rotation this year. But you can see that slider, the natural cut to his fastball. I think this might be his role in the future here. Maybe a lot like that of Drew Pomeranz, where the rotation thing worked out for a while and then it didn't. You reinvent yourself and you find yourself in the big leagues for 3 or 4 more years.
Edman taps it to the right side, and Richards takes care of it. Tom Hart with Rick Sutcliffe and Pedro Gomez. This is a series unlike we've ever seen before in the Major League Baseball postseason. It's best of 3. Obviously, you try to win every game, but the Padres also have to be concerned with their starting pitching, with their 2 best pitchers out for at least this series.
Yeah, it wasn't the way they had things planned. I mean, you would have thought that Lamet and Clevenger would have been games 1 and 2. You don't know what they would have done in game 3, whether it had been Paddock or Zach Davies. But, you still got to like their chances. You see, they've still got the ability to score runs. You know that Zach Davies won 7 games for them already this year. They've had a lot of confidence with him out there on the mound. And, it's all hands on deck. I mean, you've seen Pomeranz come in. You see the calm on his face right there. Davies has been there before. The moment won't be too big for him. He's not going to challenge Paul Goldschmidt with a first-pitch fastball. No. I guarantee you that. And then, you get to that game 3, and as we know, who knows?
He may throw Goldschmidt nothing but changeups. In fact, it's actually pretty likely for Zach Davies. Throws his changeup more than anybody in baseball. But a lot of pressure on him then tomorrow to protect the bullpen as much as you possibly can if the Padres can't come back in this one.
But I'll tell you, the thing has changed for me. Without a doubt, you weren't going to let Goldschmidt be the guy that beats you.
Yeah.
Man, Dylan Carlson on base all 4 times, knowing that strike zone. I'll be honest with you. I mean, he had some holes earlier. He had some chase zone. as of right now, I've not seen a hole in his swing right now. He looks to be locked in with all the RBIs that he's put up in the past week.
Certainly has changed what you think of this Cardinals batting order. Goldschmidt chops one to Machado. So good. And he's able to retire the Cardinals Gold Glove Award winner. 2 up, 2 down, and that'll bring Carlson up. Been a quiet day at the plate for the left side of the infield. By the way, the Padres have guys in the ballpark. There's Lamet, who's not available this series. If you're on the taxi squad, part of the 40-man roster, you can work out with the team during batting practice. You can be in uniform, but the clubhouse isn't open. So then you're relegated to sitting in the stands to watch. Look at the numbers on Lamet. 5th in baseball in ERA, 3rd in WHIP. And the postseason odds certainly shifted dramatically when Clevenger and Lamet weren't included on the roster today.
Yeah, and partner, just from the things that we've heard and the great reports from Pedro, I think Lamet might have a chance to come back and play if they get to the next series. You just don't hear much encouraging about what's going on with Clevenger in that elbow.
Pedro, you've been texting back and forth with Clevenger. What's his mood like today?
He's resigned that this has happened. What he said to me was, I've tried everything to try to get there. He did play catch 2 days ago, and he felt really well. He described it as a pristine session. And then he said, I have a bullpen scheduled for tomorrow, which was yesterday. And then came the bad news that it's just not responding, and he's having the posterior issues.
Carlson retired for the first time tonight. Padres have 6 outs to try and come back from a 2-run deficit. Authentic caps, tees, jerseys, hoodies, and more. Get all your postseason gear and cheer on your team at home with the official source, MLBshop.com. No word on if they have bullhorns available, but I'm sure you can grab a nice flag. Only way the fans will be able to see it surrounding Petco Park, hosting the postseason for the first time in 14 years. That guy needs a window to open a little bit wider. It's San Diego. Come on. 6-4 Cardinals lead the Padres. Bottom of the 8th. Rally caps on for the fans in the vicinity. And
I'll tell you what, partner, like never before, it's a Padre town. We know that the Chargers have left. Not only the excitement, but them being, they only get, whoa!
Well, Carlson ran out of room, but he gave it a go on the first pitch to Cronenworth.
Whoa, we saw that diving catch that he made going to his left. Now you can't go any further than he just did to his right. Ball, wall, ball. Thank goodness that cushion's there, but tell you what, as he came off of that, he didn't look like he felt as good as he did when he went in. Well, I love that effort, don't you?
Yeah. 0-1 now. And Andrew Miller on the mound to face Cronenworth, who tripled his first time up. We talk a lot about the postseason experience for the St. Louis roster versus San Diego. Andrew Miller has 28 games of postseason experience, a whip of .842 in the postseason with the Orioles, Yankees, Indians, and Cardinals. And Pedro, he had a dominating postseason back in 2016.
I remember talking to front office people who said that was the most dominant pitcher of the 2016 playoffs. He had a 1.39 ERA for the entire postseason, and he was the MVP of the ALCS when the Indians won it. He didn't do that year, but he was just so incredible. Sut, I know you remember that 2016 postseason. He almost single-handedly willed the Indians to win it.
I mean, he had to be the #1 weapon for Terry Francona that year. I think back to what Brian Cashman did with the Yankees that season. And Pedro and Tom, you guys remember it. I mean, he talked about that team kind of being fool's gold. The Yankees weren't going anywhere. They traded Chapman to the Cubs. They traded Andrew Miller to Cleveland. Yeah, both of those teams ended up in the World Series, and it was one of the most exciting World Series ever. But you got to think about what the Yankees got back with Gleyber Torres and Frazier and all of that. guys that are helping them right now possibly win another World Series.
Austin Nola at the plate. He's 0 for 1. Pedro, you think about how Andrew Miller was used on those Cleveland teams.
Exactly.
Yeah, kind of reinvented the way managers use the best arm in the bullpen. It changed how they think of high leverage situations almost.
Well, and that's not going to be possible this year because there are no days off. I remember if it was a game 2 or a game 5, Francona would leave him in there for an inning and 2/3, 2 1/3 innings, knowing our next game isn't for 48 hours. Tomorrow's a travel day. We don't play until the night the next day. So you could do that. This year, completely different. No off days until we get to the World Series.
You know, Pedro, that's a great point. And what it makes me think of is Pomeranz coming in and pitching the top of the 7th. I don't know, he threw 10 pitches or whatever, 3 up, 3 down. If this is game 3 and it's winner take all, I mean, he's back out there. Pomeranz might throw the 8th and maybe the 9th. I mean, I know you could go another direction with Rosenthal, but I think when he pulled him out and brought Garrett Richards in, I think Jay Stingler not only had eyes on this game, but also maybe an eye and a half on tomorrow's game.
Profar dumps one into right center field. Cronenworth will scoot to third, and the Padres again bring the tying run to the plate. This time, the 9-hole hitter Trent Grisham will represent it.
Boy, just
and
thinking about Profar.
I think what you're saying is true because that's, I think, why we've seen such a parade of relievers. You want to have everyone available tomorrow just in case.
Here's the difference in the effectiveness of relievers on 0 days rest versus 1 day rest over the last 3 postseasons. Well, now forget about tomorrow. Miller's got to worry about tonight. He's got the tying run at the plate with 1 down and facing the best comeback team in baseball. Almost got Grisham on the elbow.
He tried to throw that elbow out there, didn't he? Kind of looking like Sir Lancelot up there with all the gear they wear these days. That could have been the best thing that happened to this Padre team. The hit by pitch that put Cronenworth on, a left-handed hitter, load him up for Tatis.
Big swing
and slam Diego.
Yep, big swing and miss on the fastball. And talk about high leverage situations that Miller was used at by Terry Francona. And now here it is, Tatis waiting on deck and then Machado to follow. Miller allowed just 1 earned run in all of September.
We know that throughout his career he's had some problems with that landing leg, that right knee. If it's healthy, I mean, he's normally been as good as anybody in the game, but when it's not, we know that he's not been the same guy that was there in 2016.
Breaking ball dribble to the right side. Goldschmidt, the Gold Glover, is going to go to third. Edman will chase him home, and now Molina waiting. They got 2 on the bag, and the Cardinals will get an out of it. 2 down. Trailing runner is the one out. Never had possession of the bag, and Profar's like, hold on, I'm not going to leave. I was already here. You can't have 2 occupy the bag, and Bill Miller, the crew chief, will explain it to him.
There's one guy there that doesn't know the rule. There's another guy that once again for the Padres ran into an out. There's nowhere to go right there. There's no chance of turning the double play there, and yet Cronenworth came down the line. Goldschmidt knowing that, I mean, Andrew Miller might not have been able to get to first base. That could have been an infield hit for Grisham right there with his speed. But Cronenworth broke on that play as if thinking that he's definitely going to try to turn to. And when all of a sudden Paul Goldschmidt, being the heads-up player that he is, decided he's not. Once again, even though Cronenworth is not the one that's out, he's the one that ran into that out.
So Miller will exit after getting the second out of the inning. He'll mask up, and Cardinals now have to deal with the top of this order and Fernando Tatis. Alex Reyes is the new pitcher for St. Louis. Game 1 of this 3-game series. Same two teams tomorrow in a Game 3 if necessary on Friday. We're in the top right-hand quadrant of the postseason bracket. Elsewhere in the bottom of the National League, the Marlins beat the Cubs today. The Reds fell to the Braves in extra innings in a thriller in Atlanta. And the Astros have already advanced, sending the Twins down again.
Tom, it's funny how you describe this as like the NCAA tournament and this being the Sweet 16 right here. It is set up like that. I mean, obviously in basketball you got a one and done. You know, I love the fact that there's 3 games now and you get a chance to come back even though the first game might get away from you.
Yeah, who do you got in the Boise Regional? Well, a mistake made by Cronenworth is going to come back and haunt the Padres unless they can find some late offense. This is one of the base running mistakes that you've mentioned, Sutton. Now we've seen 2 of them tonight.
Man, that's a huge mistake right there. That throw has got to go over the first baseman's head. You got to miss the cutoff man, or you got to stay put at second. All of a sudden, he ran into an out there, and once again here, not realizing the situation. That ball, if it's hit hard, yeah, you go ahead and go. You know, they got to decide whether they try to turn 2 or not. That 3-6-1 or 3-6-3 double play is rare. It's not turned that often, and yet once again, the same guy, Jake Cronenworth, ran into an out, something that I don't think he may have ever done in his career before.
So Miller gets a couple outs here in the 8th inning, and he hands the ball off to the New Jersey native Alex Reyes. 16th appearance on the season for Reyes, first career postseason appearance. He stranded 9 of 10 inherited runners in the regular season.
Man, we have heard about this guy for a long time. He's been through a lot. He's had some struggles, mostly due to injuries. And you talk about a way to break into the postseason. Put your seatbelt on.
Tatis hitting .400 with runners in scoring position, 4th best in the National League. First pitch fastball, and he looks at triple digits, 0-1. Wow, the confidence to come right after Tatis.
And kind of surprised there. Tatis was 19 for 36 this season when putting the first pitch in play with 5 home runs.
Back to the fastball, 1-1. '22 comeback wins for San Diego, most in baseball, tied with the Rays with 14 home comeback wins. Heat again, and a dribbler to short. DeYoung's got it, and the Cardinals get out of trouble again. Miller and Reyes take care of the Padres in the 8th, 6-4 as we head to the 9th. Fans to take an active role in their communities and make a plan to vote this election season. Visit MLB.com/vote to learn more. Alongside Rick Sutcliffe and Pedro Gomez, I'm Tom Hart. The Padres go back to the bullpen, and this will be their closer, Trevor Rosenthal, pitching in a 2-run game here at home. A lot of decisions made by Mike Shelton this one, and if the Cardinals can hold on, it looks like he pulled all the right strings, Sut.
Yeah, as he did last year in his first full year, getting them to the postseason, winning that National League Central. Speaking of Cardinals, how about a former Cardinal on the mound and Trevor Rosenthal? Local boy, had an opportunity to hear about him pitching in high school just outside of Kansas City, Missouri, small town called East Summit.
Big enough for both of you. Line drive to right, and Molina handles it. Or pardon me, Myers handles it on Molina. And all the decisions, yeah, eventually that went into pulling the strings that Schilt had to do today.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to leaving Matt Carpenter there to face a left-handed hitter. What's Carp do? A base hit, driving in your Molina. We know that the game is still, the coin's still up in the air. The outcome has not been determined. And we think about how perfect he's basically been with that bullpen.
Paul DeYoung at the plate now for St. Louis. Another decision Mike Shildt had to make was what to do with the cleanup spot. And this is a spot that's kind of been under rotation for the Cardinals this season. He goes with the youngster Dylan Carlson in this one. 2 hits in his first 2 at bats. Some nice plays in left field.
That's a great point. And, you know, Goldschmidt hit that home run. And as exciting as home runs are, as important as they are, a lot of times, I mean, you've seen it. I mean, it goes an inning. It's kind of like over. And yet after the home run from Goldschmidt, Carlson said, no, we're not done. I mean, he hit that double as hard as he could hit it. Molina with the base hit. DeYoung with the double. There's a couple of more, which, as you look at that scoreboard, just how important they are right now.
The Cardinals have had an incredible run of playing in games that matter. Since opening day of 2011, Cardinals played 1,512 regular season games out of 1,515, during which they were still alive for the postseason. Think about that. For 9 years, they only played 3 games in which they weren't already eliminated.
I'll tell you one thing that makes me think of is the incredible fan base that they have there at home. I think about, you know, no matter what they did on a 10-game road trip, when they come back home on a Monday night, there's 30,000 fans there. And it's not just now. I mean, it's been going on for a long time.
It would have been the best ticket in baseball. 2 for 1 with all the doubleheaders they had this season. 11 doubleheaders. 53 games in 44 days from August 15th to September 27th.
Let's just go back and take a look at this. Look at that base hit up the middle. He finally got a fastball. Matt Carpenter driving in Molina. How big is that run going to be? And then he brings in Gallegos to get the out. And what happens here? I mean, you got to go get Tatis again. He's representing the go-ahead run. Alex Reyes comes in at 100 miles an hour to retire what a lot of people thought for a long time was going to be the MVP of the National League.
Matt Carpenter at the plate. National League Manager of the Year Mike Shildt last season. Rosenthal misses with 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, and he missed badly on that walk to Paul DeYoung. Had a chance to put him away and maybe an easy inning. You know that the Padres are hoping, if needed, they could use Rosenthal today, tomorrow, and then in game 3 if it gets that far. That pitch count starts to go up when you start walking people.
3-0.
No. I saw Carp looking down at third base coach Pop Warner. No. You're gonna. He's got that index finger up, saying, "You're taking, young man. We got to see this guy throw a strike first."
Back-to-back walks.
Hey, Sud, I've got a quick question for you. Right now, we know that Tampa Bay has already advanced. They're the #1 seed in the American League. They will either play the Yankees or the Indians, who are the 4 or 5. Indians 4, Yankees 5. Houston is the 7 seed and has advanced. If the White Sox beat Oakland tomorrow, we'll have 1 versus either 4 or 5 and 6 versus 7. What are your thoughts on maybe baseball should have thought this out and reseeded after this round instead of the NCAA tournament bracket?
That's a great question, and I mean, I'll be honest with you. It's just impossible for me right now to critique anything that Major League Baseball has done. The fact that they tried so hard to get the game back on the field, whether it was with fans or not, the fact that the fans aren't able to go to the game. We know the owners have lost a lot of money. We know that the players have made a lot of sacrifices. Yeah, it might be something. I mean, that could be a great point and something that, you know, they look at again, and maybe they move some things around. But, I mean, I just think about the job that, well, first of all, Chris Young and how he's taken over running a lot of the things that Joe Torre did in the past. And, I mean, he's just done an outstanding job.
Also happens.
Yeah, that all absolutely true. It's just going to be kind of bizarre that the Yankees and Rays could be playing, and on the other side you could have the Astros, who had a losing record, against the White Sox, who were the 6th seed. And by the way, to piggyback on Chris Young, these clubs have played 10 times previously in the postseason. 9 wins by the Cardinals. The only win by the Padres was by Chris Young, the Princeton grad.
By the way, Indians lead the Yankees 4-0 in the first right now. But, Pedro, let me ask you this, though. I really feel like a team that springs an upset, right? If you're the 8 seed and you beat the 1 seed, you deserve the spoils that go with that. And if that means you get a lower seed the next round, so be it. Fowler pulls that one through the left side. DeYoung's going to come around third, and he will score just ahead of the throw, and that is a monster run for St. Louis to tack on here in the 9th.
Devastating. I mean, you bring in a guy that has been absolutely nails all year long. Rosenthal, he's throwing 100. You think we got the bottom of the order coming up, he'll put up a 0 and we'll get an opportunity. You know, worst case scenario, we got the tie and run in the on deck circle. If he can just put a 0 up in the top of the 9th, no. You walk a couple of people, you give them 90 feet, you give them another 90, and Dexter Fowler, you go, we go. Well, he's still going.
Great to see Fowler back in the game after missing so much time due to illness. Been a tough day at the plate for Harrison Bader. 0 for 4, 4 strikeouts.
Oh, we're thinking safety squeeze here. And I noticed at third base, that's not Matt Carpenter anymore. That's the son of Mr. Canada. That has to be Tyler O'Neill. Oh, yeah. You can see the top button. It's not unbuttoned. That button popped off because of the strength on that man.
It fought a good fight, though, didn't it?
It did.
Give us the fall frenzy. It's a postseason we've never seen before.
Anything can happen.
Give us the Wild Card Series. Continues tomorrow on ESPN and ABC.
I'm thinking safety squeeze again. He gave him that 1-0 pitch to swing at. Put the bunt on. See if he can get it down.
He went 1 and 2.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that guys hit 9th, because you don't expect as much out of them as the guys in front of them. And I love what Mike Shildt was thinking there on that first pitch with the safety squeeze. He went away from it. I'm okay with that. 1-0 pitch, you're going to get a heater. Maybe he can hit a 3-run homer. But I might have gone back to that safety squeeze right there.
Held at that time, 2 balls and 2 strikes. You think about what Harrison Bader brings to this team. Mike Shildt's offense, as we've explained, for a variety of reasons, has really struggled this season. Any other year, Harrison Bader is hitting 8th, 9th, hits 220, 230. That's fine because he brings you great defense. Goes down swinging for the 5th time.
Wow. What's that called, Pedro? You got the hat trick, the golden sombrero, and
Exactly. You know, Jerry, our old friend Jerry Coleman's the one who came up with the golden sombrero. Boy, the platinum sombrero? I don't know.
Hey, I expect you to have something better than that by tomorrow, okay, buddy?
Hey, I gave you Ministro de Defensa earlier. Come on.
How about going back to what Sut's scorebook looks like? How about the Olympic rings? 5 Olympic rings, 5 Ks as Wong lines out to Tatis. We go to the 9th. The best comeback team in baseball needs all it can get. They trail by 3. Padres at 2, 3, and 4 spots, starting with Manny Machado. They trail by 3. Home half of the 9th inning, game 1 of a best of 3 with the Cardinals. Of course, first matchup of the season between these two teams. Everybody stayed within their division geographically in both leagues. And the Cardinals, with their first long flight, get out to San Diego Sunday night. Quick workout Monday and full workout Tuesday. Here they are. Machado, Hosmer, Myers due up. And Alex Reyes got Tatis to ground out to in the 8th through 3 straight fastballs. And Tatis missed opportunities time and again. He's stranded 5 runners in this game.
Yeah, you talk about missed opportunities, and the Cardinals have long thought about the games that Alex Reyes has missed and how they had him billed as the #1 starting pitcher. He might have been the top prospect in all of baseball at one time, but man, to come in and do what he did to Fernando Tatis Jr. with the game on the line there, not many people can do that.
We've seen 2 pitchers in this game with an average vertical movement on their curveball of 10.7 inches. Garrett Richards was the other. Those 2 guys are second only to Trevor Bauer in vertical movement or break on their curveball. Now, couple that with the fact that he lives upper 90s with the fastball, Sut, it's almost not fair.
I just think back to how much better these guys are than we were. How much harder they throw and how much more information that they have. These labs that just about every team in baseball have, I mean, they're so important in the development of a pitch like that. Manny Machado has got to do what he's done all year long. He's got to make something positive happen here for the Padres.
Machado 1 for 4. There's the curveball, and it catches the edge for a strike. You almost feel like Machado's saying, I don't want that. There's nothing he can do with it.
Well, and he also knows the difference between him with a 2-0 count as opposed to a 1-1 count.
So what's your approach with a guy like with specifically Machado here, even though the rest of this order is pretty good too with Hosmer and Myers behind him?
He's got to swing the bat. I'm 3-1 right here. I'm doing whatever I've got to do to throw a strike. And there's pitching coach Mike Maddox. There's none better in the game of baseball. And we've talked about Mike Schilt and the great things he's done, but Mike Maddox has had a young staff. He's had a lot of things to deal with this year.
Backhanded drop. DeYoung recovers, and he takes care of Machado by a few steps. 1 down. It got to him in a hurry, and that's what helped DeYoung finish the play.
You know what's unbelievable is, yeah, he's got to throw a 3-1 fastball, but it's not a 4-seam fastball. That was a 2-seam fastball that has a little late movement and some sink to it. Why do you throw that pitch? Because normally it'll keep the ball out of the air. And even though that ball probably came off at 110 miles an hour, watch the movement on this pitch. Look at that thing sink down and in, coming back to that inside corner. I mean, to me, that comes from a pitching coach, too, like Mike Maddox, who says, hey, you know what? Even if you don't throw it for a strike, maybe the movement will be enough to get the out.
Hosmer with the line drive. DeYoung's got it, and the Padres are down to their last out. Game time tomorrow still to be determined between the Padres and Cardinals. We'll know that later tonight. The pitching matchup is determined. The veteran Adam Wainwright goes for St. Louis, opposite of Zach Davies for the Padres.
Another opportunity to see the great Cardinal Adam Wainwright on the mound. I mean, he has been a postseason hero for them since he was a rookie coming up and was a closer in that bullpen. I still see that curveball he threw to Carlos Beltran. He'll be ready to go. And you know what? This Padre team has been resilient all year long. This game's not over, but even if it ends the way it looks right now, this series is far from over. You got to take a strike here, don't you?
Yeah. Tatis and Machado have combined to go 2 for 9 in this one.
Yeah, I don't even need a take sign if I'm a hitter there. I gotta hope he gives me 90 feet, because hits are just too hard to come off of when you've got the velocity and movement.
Alex Reyes trying to close it out for the Cardinals. 6 pitcher used today for St. Louis. The 2-2 to Myers. Got a little dribbler. Molina finds it foul.
Yadier Molina's baseball IQ is, I mean, nobody's got a higher one. That ball's topped up there. He didn't know where it was. Takes his mask off. He looks at it. He knows it's foul where it's at. And he said, well, I'll just let it drop. Maybe it'll kick fair to end this ball game.
The 2-2 again. Fly ball to center field. Deep. Bader at the wall. And he makes a leaping catch to end it. Harrison Bader misplayed one early. Makes good there. And the Cardinals finish off game 1, a 7-4 win.
One more circle, partner. Timed that absolutely perfect. Didn't care about the wall. Knew exactly where he was at to end this game.
Reyes never turned and looked. He had the confidence of a closer that the park would hold it, and it did. As the sun sets on this one in San Diego, we get ready for Brewers and Dodgers to follow. Our final score, Cardinals 7, Padres 4. For Rick Sutcliffe, Pedro Gomez, our sensational crew, I'm Tom Hart. Good night.